You're watching the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. Now it's time for the Brent and Austen Show.
Anthony Campanile. That's how we say it, all right? Anthony Campanile. I guess him and Liam Coen can go to Federal Hill in Providence. That's some good Italian.
Man, he's Italian, Nanny.
Get that going for him. He's your new defensive coordinator. He's going to be awesome. I love this hire. Love this guy. Let's get excited about it. Gosh, I love folks. I have no idea if this guy's any good. I have no idea. And I'm not doing it. All right? Listen, there are a couple of things we've learned over the years here on the show. Or I have learned. And I haven't learned everything because I'm still a positive guy most of the time, although I think I took a hiatus this year. Some would say. But you go to training camp and you don't get excited about guys that are running around the practice field and look like they're the next Jerry Rice. You just don't. You don't get too disappointed when they're not. And then you don't get too excited about the coaches because there's Ryan Nielsen and there are others. Now, you can be excited, I think, about the head coach because you can see all the different things that he's going to try to do. But schematically, I don't know if we even know, right? I mean, you got all the things we'll talk about today with Liam Coen because I think he's really hitting a home run this week with so many of the things he's saying. Now, we got to see if he does it, but it's good to say it before we actually see if he can do it. But this kind of stuff, I just don't. I think this guy's going to be great this year. You know why? Because they're going to be a hell of a lot better than 32nd in the league in a lot of defensive categories. But I really think they could have hired anybody to do that. Now, the question is this guy a rising star like they talk about? Is he going to be great? And are they going to be like a top 10 defense? Are they on the verge of potentially at some point being a top 5 defense? Like, those are just the things you don't know, and a lot of that is players-wise and how they adapt to him. So we'll see. We'll see. It's definitely worth talking about, and we will talk about Anthony Campanile. Yeah, Delphonic's like loving these Northeast guys. You know what? I will say this. I said it last night on TV about him, and I think this is, I don't know how significant it is, but it's kind of significant to me that some of these guys you're looking at, I think I said this a couple of days ago on the show, and we were talking about all the different folks that Liam Coen was looking at in the defensive coordinator room. And a lot of them, from Pleasant to Campanile, Jones,
yep.
and Patrick Graham was not in this conversation as much. But you look at their resume, and they've got high school. Like, this guy was at Don Bosco Prep, which is a big-time high school in Jersey. Like, one of the best in the country from a athletic standpoint. But then he goes to Rutgers, right? And Rutgers is fine, but it's not Alabama. And he goes to Boston College, and Boston College is fine, but it's not Alabama. And then he ends up in Michigan. And then, so he's actually in a bigger time than like Liam Coen. My point is, that's a Liam Coen kind of climb before he jumps to the NFL, which is actually a little bit later in his coaching career. And I mean, he's still a young guy, but he's only been in the NFL since 2020. Well, Coen was only in the NFL since 2018. And so he's finding these guys with this high school. When you get the high school guy to go to the college guy to go to the NFL, what I think is you get good teachers. Like, to me, that's a good teacher. Somebody saw that this guy was a really good teacher, good communicator, good whatever. And said, hey, you need to come to this level. And then you need to come to this level. And that's what happened with Liam Coen. And I'm not telling you that means all of a sudden the Jags are geniuses in their coaching staff, but I kind of like the climb. You know, I say this a lot in our business, and I only can equate our business because I know our business so well. And I say this most recently about where we are in our business. Like, you take somebody like Stewart, who worked in like Midland, Texas, and then Columbus, Georgia, or like I came from Alexandria, Louisiana, then to Providence and Albany, like these different stops along the way. Well, what's happening in our business now is we just hire people right out of school to go to Jacksonville.
Yeah, me.
Like you, like Hamby. And you don't learn along the way all these other things. You and especially in sports. Like, I don't know the news part as well, but in sports specifically, because when you're in Alexandria, Louisiana, 20 years ago, you do like the news, the weather, you get the coffee, like you get everything. You do everything. And you learn and you make mistakes, and you're in a place where like the audience knows you're probably young and making mistakes, and they're okay with it. Now we're doing that right here in Jacksonville. Like if you just got to watch, flip around, and you'll see mistakes that probably you shouldn't make in Jacksonville sometimes. And that's just the nature of our business right now. So I like the climb in our business. I think you can see that. I think you can see people who have done it a different way, and then you see it doesn't make people bad, by the way. Hamby's going to be fine, but you're learning in the fire. Hamby's been learning on the run this whole last year. So instead of just kind of having a base, working in other spots before and coming in here at 28 years old or 29 years old or something like that. So it's again, I'm not trying to say it's a bad thing. It's a different thing, though. And so I wonder, like, I like this, though. That's my point. I like this in even the NFL. I don't know if it works better in the NFL. There's always a climb, right? You got to go up the ladder, and it's not usually a meteoric rise. McVay is pretty quick. Obviously, even Liam Coen at 39 years old to be a head coach, that's pretty good. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't get a lot of late 30s traditionally being a head coach. But we are seeing the game go younger, but you still need this kind of pedigree, this kind of background to climb your way up. And I like when we see it. So this tells me a lot about these guys, that I think they're good communicators. They're good teachers. And that's not a knock on anybody else, but I do think it feels like there's a little bit of that lacking in the last couple years around here. Really the last handful of years at least, going back to Urban Meyer, where just Urban's problem was a lot of other things on top of teaching. Like his assistants might have been okay, but really they had no control of it. So that was a different world. But have the Jags been getting tutored, mentored, taught the way they should be, the way the Rams are teaching their guys, right? The way the Eagles are teaching their guys, the way the Chiefs are teaching their guys? It doesn't feel like it. And that may be very incremental, but we're talking about a 1% league that if you're not getting it, the gap gets pretty wide in a hurry. So are the Jags solving some of that with some of these hires? I don't know. Like, again, I'm not sure where this is going to be. This guy's a first-time defensive coordinator. That also comes with its own problems. And I don't know. I think there's a real chance we could look back at this in a few years, and if it doesn't work, and we're going to be like, well, they got too many young guys that didn't know what they were doing, right? But it feels like the league right now is okay with taking that chance. And I don't mind that the Jags right now are okay with taking that chance. I do think we'll get some veteran folks in here. You have to have some semblance of that. I'll go back to what McVay did. McVay was super young, but Wade Phillips was like his grandfather on the staff. So you can find those guys still. I don't think this is a negative at all. I just think it's a curiosity of where will these guys be, right? And how many mistakes are they going to make? And some of those mistakes might be hidden. I'm not talking about a Sunday afternoon mistake. These guys know how to coach, and they probably know how to call a game. And maybe there will be some mistakes, even from Coen. Like, how can I handle the coaching stuff and the play calling? Am I going to the first month of this on the Sundays? Is it going to look the same and feel the same for Liam Coen and how he delegates information or delegates jobs on game day versus during the week versus maybe in October or November when he's learned a few things? Mm-hmm. Because the bottom line is we all know this, no matter what job you've been at, like you can be prepared and be ready to go, but you're still learning on the run, and you're going to run into stuff that you haven't experienced. Liam Coen is going to have that. Will we notice it is the question, right? Will we see it the way like Nate Hackett and the Broncos and like we could see it. We could see it happen. You don't want that. That's the bottom. That's the disaster. You definitely don't want that. I don't think we're going to get that. That was unusual. But I think there will be some subtleties in all this, from defensive coordinator who hasn't done it before to head coach who hasn't done it before. And, they're going to live on the run and learn on the run a little bit. But remember, if you're not learning, you're dying.
Oh, man.
Has anybody sent me a hat yet on that? Like, you get a hat?
You need a hat or a T-shirt?
T-shirt, hat, I don't know. Like, can we make a hat? Where's Dome Hats? Come, let's go. I don't know which hat. Like, we got a bunch of hats from this past year. We got living and learning and dying. or we
Living
can
and learning and dying.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. We got to get the quote, but we can definitely do. You don't understand.
Yeah,
you wouldn't understand.
Yep.
That's more T-shirty. That's hard to put on a hat. I really feel like we could sell those things and do pretty well. So maybe we should get them.
Yeah,
I went to the pep rally thing yesterday. I'm calling it a pep rally for lack of a better term. But it was cool, by the way. We're going to hear from Liam Coen. And like everybody I saw was talking about the question to Shot. I was like, this is weird. I've never been asked about so many questions and answers than the last year. I mean, I'm on some kind of heater in the last 6 months, man. It's crazy. But anyway, do you like the Campanile hire?
Yeah, I like the Campanile hire. As I was saying earlier, he was the only guy that was the run game coordinator.
Yeah.
Which, if you're kind of read into it, it makes sense, right? Why Liam Coen would make that hire, considering how much he put the emphasis on the trenches in his opening press conference, saying, playoff football, you got to run the football and stop the run. Well, it looks like what Campanile's kind of a specialty is. Obviously, been linebackers coach now for 4 years with the Dolphins and the Packers, run game coordinator this last year as well. And for everything that we've seen now, do you try to put something into the fact that Packers fans and Packers media is not excited to see him go? They liked him a lot. You don't want to put too much into it, but it's certainly better than nothing. It's certainly encouraging. Do you want to put too much into the fact where everybody calls him a master motivator is the word I keep seeing, or the phrase I keep seeing on Twitter? That's also encouraging. I don't know that to be true, but from the videos that I've seen last night and this morning, it looks certainly to be the case. Now, look, here's what I'm going to say. I probably would have told you that Nielsen was very similar. I would have told you that Nielsen is a big motivator. The way that guy talked, the way that guy, I'd watch videos on him the same way. So, I'm trying to be tempered about it, but it does seem like it fits every criteria other than experience and success at DC.
Yeah, let's see. Without getting carried away, and you're right, Dolphins fans, Packers fans seem to like this guy. And by the way, like the linebacker coach isn't somebody you usually even know.
Name the Jaguars linebacker coach.
Yeah, like he just Shuey, Bill Shuey. Did I say Paul Shuey the other day? Bill Shuey. I feel like I might have said Paul Shuey the other day. Bill Shuey is the linebackers coach, or one of them. Now you got inside, outside linebackers, everything else. But again, I just am not. I'm going to do this like it's training camp. I'm not going to get carried away with the hires that are made. And I'm quite frankly, I'll admit it. I don't know a lot about this guy and how he's going to be as a DC. How do you know? How do we know? How do the Packers fans and Dolphins fans? We don't know what he's going to look like as a defensive coordinator.
And if you do know, it's because you got fed secondhand information from somebody else.
But I'll trust it. Because here's are things that I like. There's going to be energy. There's a little bit more youth here, so the energy will be ramped up a little bit more.
Same name
and
as
guess
Nielsen,
what?
Though, pretty much.
Was Nielsen only like 42?
Yeah, I mean, I don't
feel
know.
like he's older than that.
Really? Young kids. He was at Disney, Brent.
He was at Disney.
Brent, if he's at Disney with teenagers, then we should have known right there.
Yeah, how old is Nielsen? I feel like Nielsen's older than that.
79. That makes him 45, so he's 2 or 3 years older.
Wow, that's it. Interesting. Must be the mustache. Struck me as a little older. But either way, this guy looks younger.
Yeah.
This guy looks like, look at his stuff. And again, Nielsen, defensive guy, he had energy too. But you can bring the energy to the room in a different way, and this guy seems to do it if you look at some of the video. But you get that with the head coach too. I mean, I think you're going to get that with Liam Coen. I think you infuse a little bit more energy into this thing. And the mentality. And now, can they play like that? What I feel like is, maybe energy isn't the right word. Urgency is the word. And by the way, I do think one thing is a little bit fair to mention, as we learned later in the year about Nielsen. His wife was battling, had been diagnosed with cancer and stuff. And I mean, there are a lot of things that take away personally from maybe even everything he was trying to do this year, because he was good in Atlanta, And I know it didn't work out, but you think about some of those family things that didn't, maybe kind of threw him off a little bit this past year as well. So listen, we'll figure it out. I'm going to trust it. And part of the reason I'm going to trust it is because I like new blood. Mm-hmm. I like the fact that we don't know if this guy's a star. We don't know if this guy is going to be a head coach in 6 years. We don't know if he's the next Aaron Glenn, right? We don't know those things. So I don't mind that. I like that. You know, the guy who was a linebacker coach here in Jacksonville in 2014, 15, 16 was Robert Saleh. He just interviewed for the head coaching job. And he's had a head coaching job.
And they say that Campanile was kind of the 49ers second-hand guy.
They did say that,
If Saleh would have come to Jacksonville or gone somewhere else, that they were eyeing Campanile as their DC.
Yeah, the thing you see about him is he's a rising star, right? Or he's a fast riser. Let's just say that. Star might be a little dramatic, but a fast riser. So Jags got their defensive coordinator, and now the big next one is going to be really the big next one's the GM. Like the OC to me doesn't scream big, although we talked on the show yesterday how some of these guys actually, even though they're not calling plays, have been very good coaches under the McVay tree, like Coen himself, like O'Connell, like Zach Taylor, who is a QB coach. So you can find stars there as well, especially in this tree, that have gone on to be head coaches in the National Football League and quite frankly done very well. Matt LaFleur, another one. So this really screams of the LaFleur-McVay tree to this hire because obviously it comes from Green Bay. So there's a little bit of a relationship there, most likely. So you don't know how deep these ties are. But Anthony Campanile is the new defensive coordinator of the Jags, and we'll get a little bit more thought from Austen Lane on this hire coming up a little bit later on in the show.
It's a crazy football family he's got. They talk about, so he's got his dad, Mike, and his brother, Vito. Man, he's Italian. And his brother, Nicky and Nunzio.
Oh, man, yeah, he is.
Nunzio Campanile.
I told you, Federal Hill, here we come, man. If the Jags play the Patriots, you can find,
and they were all at
the
Rutgers.
Jags staff there.
They were all at Rutgers at one time. Man, this is insane.
Yeah. So
all
anyway,
the brothers, yep.
That is Italian now. That's pretty good stuff. So I think we're going to start to get some dominoes to fall here with the coaching staff. And this weekend probably be a busy one. And then again, on to the next thing is the GM. Like I think people are looking at the OC. I don't even know what the most important hire is outside of this DC. I thought the DC was the big hire. And then on the staff, maybe you're talking about an offensive line hire. Keep that in mind. Now, people are getting really this back and forth between the Tampa fans and the Jags fans. It's wild.
Yeah.
And really the organizations. So the reports out of Tampa.
We first went over after Carberry.
Yep.
And they blocked that.
And that was for, I think he was trying to bring him in for the same job.
Right.
Right? And then what was the one last night? It was somebody else, an assistant.
Yeah, it was Picucci. Picucci, Picucci. He's been with Liam for a number of years, and they blocked that interview as well.
What they didn't say is what the interview was for. Was it for the offensive line coach? Was it for that job? And
he was the assistant. Okay, so Carberry was the O-line coach. Picucci was the assistant O-line coach. But they did not say which position it was for.
Yeah, and I think I saw this from Greg Allman. There's some confusion because most of the time you can't block a guy if they're going to get a promotion. Right? And that's what Buck's Basement saying. All the blocks have been lateral. None of them have been promotion, which is why the blocks can do it. But then even Greg Allman out of Tampa said, let's see, find it. Let's see. I don't know if he deleted it. Maybe he was wrong on it. Because I always thought as long as if it's lateral, you can block. And if it's not, then you can't. But he said something that, here we go. Bucks can block any assistant under contract from leaving for any job that is less than a coordinator position.
Okay.
So see, like it is a promotion, but they can still block it.
Right.
As long as it's not a coordinator promotion.
So then Carberry wouldn't have been for the OC. Because then they wouldn't have been able to.
They
block
wouldn't have been able to block Carberry for OC. He would have been. My
O-line.
assumption is O-line.
Okay.
But this one is your assistant line coach. I think that was for the O-line. That was going to be to
That's
promote
a promotion,
him.
yeah.
And so, but it doesn't matter. The Bucs can block him if he's under contract, which obviously makes sense.
Right.
And then only if the coordinator position you can't do it. So now, what most people will do, and I think why you don't run into this very much, is you're not going to stop a guy from advancing in his career, or trying. Well, but listen, the Bucs tried to kind of stop Liam Coen from advancing in his career. If you really look at it,
and Bakuchi would have been a promotion.
Listen, I don't mind I give the Bucs. The Bucs like their guys, and they're trying to keep their guys. Like, I don't have no problem with them trying to keep their guys, and they're pissed at the Coen thing.
Yeah,
and I don't know if I blame them. Like, again, I'm going to sit here on the Jacksonville side of things, and I'm going to say, what the hell, Bucs? Like, you would too, right? I mean, I did all that last week. Like, I thought Liam made a mistake going back in the first part.
Right.
So, and we said that like the minute it happened.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm going to sit. I can take Team Jax here and be like, what the hell? Why are you so mad? But I get why they're kind of mad. Like, they wanted the guy, and this didn't go so well in terms of how it was done on their end. Now, I also put it on the Bucs a little bit that if you really trust what you're all about, let him go to that interview and say, we really want you to come back even after you go to that interview. That might have left a little bit different taste. He probably still would take the job, but that's okay. He should be able to take the job. It pays 3 times as much. He's a head coach. Like, you should almost want that for your folks, even if you really want to keep people. Like, you really should. Like, that's part of it. But they're getting raided right now. Yeah. Spytech, Coen, and they're looking down the line like, what the heck? But this doesn't sit well with them. And I don't mind them being a little pissy about it, quite frankly. Like, I really don't. This has become Bucs versus Jags a little bit. It has amped things up. And I do think you got to be a little bit careful organizationally to let your pride get in the way and ego get in the way and your hurt about your feelings in the way, because it might not sit well with the guys in your building, right? If the guys in the building are now like, wait a minute, you're not letting me go?
Right.
I want a promotion?
Yeah.
But maybe they're taking care of this assistant guy and going to give him a little bit of a bump.
Well, sure, maybe, right? But it's still kind of a like, and I'm trying careful not to laser in because all teams block interviews.
Yeah, right? The Jags did it with Press Taylor a couple years ago.
Right. So this is not just the Bucs doing this. Every team, when they have successful coaching staffs, and some teams just get raided. Look at the Detroit Lions, right? But at the same time, this sets I gotta think inside that building, there's a little bit of a track record, and of course, the other coaches see this. Like, man, if I have success in Tampa Bay, they're not the organization who's going to be like, yeah, like go get the promotion. Like Dan Campbell, it's kind of the opposite effect. He knew that Glenn and Ben Johnson were up for head coaching jobs, right? And it was just the attitude that he had was like, yeah, I fully expect them to go get jobs. They should get jobs. Dan Campbell's taking time out of his press conference to promote their resumes, their job, as so that they will go get head coaching jobs. Okay, what's happening in Tampa Bay? No, you got to stay here. We might give you a little bit more money, but I don't know, man. I just think that's kind of a bad track record, and some people are going to see that. Now, look, it's probably not going to matter to a lot of people, and that's okay. But if we're going to talk about it, I think it's not a good look.
It could be, but you just don't know behind the scenes. They might have been mad at Coen because when he got here, he's like, hey, you've been bouncing around. We want to keep you here for a couple of years, right? Like, let's stay. It's a handshake agreement to be here, and then eventually you'll get a head coaching job. Let's turn it into that. And it happened so fast that maybe, again, and how it happened just doesn't sit well with everybody. I mean, listen, I've had some of these experiences in my career too. Not everybody's happy about it, even if principally it's correct and like it makes sense, right? Like you can think one way and others can think another way about it. So I'm not hammering the Bucs for this as much as I just think it's kind of entertaining and fun.
Mm-hmm,
and I do think the Bucs made a mistake here to some degree. I did all that last week. And like Delphonic's saying, like they tried to block him from interviewing in advance, which is kind of messed up. And I agree with that. Like, I don't think that was the tact. Give him the $4.5 million, say, I want you back, all those things, but still say, hey, You should be able to go interview and get experience here, but I think you're going to come back to this because we're so good. Like, that's how comfortable you should be in your – hopefully the Jags are comfortable enough at some point to do that, to take this DC and Anthony Campanile. He does a great job in a few years, and it's like, hey, we really want to keep you. We're going to bump you up. We are going to make you assistant head coach here, but we ain't going to stop you from going to try to pursue your dreams either. Take a look at it. And what I think what we hope you find is this situation's still better with you, the assistant head coach, than that one. And again, that will vary. The results will vary from that. But I wonder if Coen would have considered more going back to Tampa if they had presented it that way. He might not have, but I wonder. It's a weird feeling if you put yourself in Coen's spot. Like, wait a minute, they said I couldn't even go try to get this job. You know, again, I did that all last week, and the Bucs fans are going to be pissed, and they're going to protect their team. The Jags fans are going to be pissed, and they're going to protect the Jags on this, and that's great. That's the way it should be. I love it. Like, it's fine. I did think of this, and I texted you this morning. This just popped in my brain because people are talking about in 2027 the Jags play the Bucs. That's the next time. And everybody's talking about, well, no more joint practices. Well, you're probably right. For the next couple of years, at the very least, no more joint practices. But the Jags play the Bucs at a neutral site, essentially. The Jags won't be playing home games that year. So will that be a game in London? I saw somebody joke around like that. They'll request that game be played in London. Like pull the Bucs over to London. But I think the NFL might want the Jags, if it's in Gainesville or Orlando, to be played in Florida, right? That's kind of a unique opportunity. Now, here's what I landed on this morning, and I'm not telling you I know anything about this, but I also know there's a lot going on where we could determine by the end of March, basically at the owners' meetings, where the Jags are going to play in 2027, and it's between Gainesville and Orlando. We know that. Logic says Orlando to me, for a bunch of reasons. I would think the NFL almost wants it in Orlando from a spec standpoint and the stadium standpoint and all this stuff. And also the ability to fly into Orlando for visiting teams and visiting fan bases. Orlando's a bigger market. The Jags would like that because they could get the eastern side of Orlando to maybe turn them into Jags fans and have them coming up to the new stadium, et cetera, et cetera. Then Gainesville, where it's a little trickier, right? To do all those things. But the problem with Orlando has been the Bucs before this week and last week. The problem with Orlando is and I'm not telling you that they're bad in this, but it's their protected area. And it's really close. Like, can the Jags even play there? Or will they need an exception from the league type of thing? Because that market, that NFL market lands in the Bucs territory too.
Right.
So there's actually like a real impediment there that they had to figure out. Like, they have to work with the Bucs. The Jags have to work with the Bucs. The Jags have to work with the league. The Bucs have to work with the league and try to figure this one-time unique situation out. Well, does this make it now more likely that situation gets trickier in the 11th hour? Because I think a lot of those conversations have already taken place. But does this mess any of that up? And I have no idea that it would or could, but will it? And could that land the Jags in Gainesville instead? Because of a situation like this? Are they that hurt by this? Are they going to go to that? Like, that's more an ownership thing. Right. That's not a GM coach thing. That's an ownership thing. And keep in mind, there's a little thought that from where you're going to play your games in Gainesville, they have a partnership now with UF Health.
Right.
Gainesville really would like it much. Who wouldn't want the NFL in their backyard for a year? It's a little bit quicker of a drive. I know Mayor Don Deegan and others have said, hey, well, that's the fastest place to get to. Not by a lot, but still it is. Even though it's not always the easiest ride, it's still the faster ride for much of Jacksonville. So there are other reasons why going to Gainesville makes sense, where I think logically it just doesn't make that much sense. Like, an extra 20 minutes for all the other reasons I said they should probably be in Orlando make a hell of a lot more sense for me. But again, the Bucs and I think the NFL and the Jags have to dance on this if it's Orlando. You don't have to do that in Gainesville. And I'm just starting to wonder
if
this thing is so hot. Like, that would be a great backstory to this.
Yeah, I was about to say, make the E60 30 for 30 now of at the last second, the Jags get moved from Orlando to Tampa in 2027 because Liam Coen said, I'm out, and secretly drove. Because of one secret meeting for a whole season, the Jags are playing in a different place. That would be actually insane. I do think, yeah, because as you mentioned, this is more ownership, and they're probably not as hurt at Liam Coen's departure as the fans are, or maybe as Todd Bowles is, or some of the other coaches. But what a silly thing that would be for that to have any impact on where the Jags play in 27. I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, I don't even know. This isn't a rivalry. All right, like, this isn't a thing. The Bucs and the Jags don't have anything until now. And it's totally an off the field thing. It's totally more of a front office thing. I don't think the players give a dang about it, right? This year. Like, they wouldn't care. It would be pretty cool if they played them. But there's like this little back and forth going on. Yet I don't really know if it just feels bigger to us because we're seeing Tampa fans even come in our chat and all that, which, hey, more than welcome. Come on in. But it's just a really interesting deal.
Just watch your heads when you come in. You're kind of outnumbered.
Yeah.
We might not address your comment, but a lot of people will.
Listen, this isn't Yankees-Red Sox is my point. Like, if this is a Yankees-Red Sox thing where you've already got this rivalry, or if it's the Bears-Packers, or you've got Ravens-Steelers, and there are some of these things, that's not the history here. There's actually a very friendly deal between the Bucs and the Jags over time where they have practiced together a lot. And there's none of this because they just don't play that often or often enough in games that matter for obvious reasons. But this is pretty wild, what has transpired. And now the blocking of coaches, or will that draw even some of the ire or angst of Coen? Or did he kind of know that was going on? That'll be interesting when he addresses the whole staff. Did this bother him? Now, he's going to be happy with the staff that he gets, but did it bother him that they did that? Will he even say that in front of a microphone? Or did he kind of know that it was coming? Maybe it's expected, right? And again, I think you brought up a good point. I think people have to understand this. People block other teams all the time. Mm-hmm. Like, this isn't a new thing. And believe it or not, the Jags blocked Press Taylor from going to Baltimore or interviewing with Baltimore just a few years back. So I think it's kind of fun. I do wonder, though, in total curiosity, no knowledge, other than what I kind of feel like I know about the Orlando-Gainesville situations. I just wonder. I know they have to work with Tampa, like they do. Like, Tampa's part of the equation here. Whether it's just I don't know how deep that is. Like, it's a blessing of, hey, yeah, that's cool for 1 year, or whatever. I don't know that, but I don't know the details.
Or they got to potentially be throwing some money because we're eating out of some of their market.
But I just wonder if this gets elevated a little bit. And it really would be and not the 11th hour from a 2027 standpoint, but an 11th hour from when I think this is done. Like, behind closed doors, this might already be done. And now just waiting on a March NFL owners meetings. So 2 months from now, or it might be like almost done. And does this kind of cause a hiccup? Be a fascinating backstory at some point. If there's anything like that goes on and the Jags end up playing in Gainesville, was this a part of the reason why they played in Gainesville in 2027? So keep an eye on it. Just something I thought about this morning with all this back and forth between the Tampa Bay Bucs and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Anthony Campanile is the new defensive coordinator of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So the staff has a special teams coordinator and a defensive coordinator, but a lot more still to fill out, and I think that's going to happen in the next few days. And then the big one coming up for Liam Coen and Shad Khan in this front office is the general manager. And that's coming soon enough as well. So a lot of interviewing going on. And speaking of interviews, well, this guy, he answered some questions. Coen in front of Jags fans, more than 2,000 of them last night at Everbank Stadium. And the comments, we've got a whole bunch of them. We'll get to them. We also talked to Tony Baselli. We'll hear from him. Matthew Driscoll on the show today, as well as the River City Rumble is tomorrow night in town. Always a big basketball matchup. That one at Swisher Gymnasium. Still a bunch to get to. Here on a Friday, it's the Brent and Austen Show on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network.
When it comes to trucks, I know exactly what I want. And at Bozard Ford, they make it easy to get exactly that. Let's go make this truck a little more my style. With Bozard Built, I can create my perfect truck right here. Lift kit? Check. Premium wheels? You bet. Advanced lighting package? Oh yeah. The Bozard team works their magic. From bumper to tailgate, I'm making this truck mine. It's everything that I wanted and more. From the field to the gym to weekend adventures. This truck's built for my journey. Bozard Built. Customized for your lifestyle, built to exceed your expectations. Check out the inventory and available options at bozardbuilt.com. Unleash your dream ride. Customized, covered, and Bozard approved.
When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models, or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway, or shop online at nimnickbuickgmc.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness, and most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick. GMC. We are professional grade.
There's a saying in sports, you can't win them all, but you can win a lot with good folks on your team. Like that one painter, First Coast. It's tough to beat the sun in Florida, so your home fades. It's tough to beat that HOA when they come calling. Beat the sun, beat the HOA with that one painter, First Coast. And it's a good time to do it. Less rain to work around, and painting in mild temperatures is perfect. After all, the paint bonds to the surface so much better. Give that one painter First Coast a call at 904-417-3557 or look them up at first-coast.thatonepainter.com. Fast estimate, guidance on color and HOA requirements, and the highest quality job you'll find anywhere. Be a big winner in your neighborhood with that one painter First Coast on your team.
'24 provided plenty of memorable moments for the Jacksonville Armada on the pitch, including another conference championship game appearance for Tommy Krasanovich's under-23 men's team. Debuting this year for the first time, the girls in blue, as the Armada fielded a women's under-23 side in the WPSL and made its presence known with some highlight moments.
Potential goal of the season!
Then attention turned to the future, with MLS Next teams representing the Armada badge in 3 age divisions this fall, including an under-19 squad ranking among the best in the state. Those teams are a big focus on Fleet and Footy, covering the big soccer stories each week on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
I'll put one in the back of the net for you.
Join us for player profiles, fun interviews, and the very latest on the Fleet and all things footy. That's every Thursday at 2 p.m.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
It was a really nice crowd. Hit the play button, Hamby. Or is this a picture? Thank you. Like getting stuck today or something. You're 0 for 2.
This guy's not.
I like that shot Weber got. Like, look at all the cell phones.
It's a lot of people, man.
It was
like you only think 2,000. Like I heard 2,000 people, and I'm like 2,000 people on a Thursday night.
Well, with like a day and a half notice, by the way.
Right.
Too, you know?
Just to go out there and listen to the guy talk. This makes me wonder if after each game, after each loss, real quick, before we actually get to the Coen, say after the Vikings loss, the Eagles loss, the Houston loss, if fans were able to go to the head coach Doug's press conference immediately following the game, how many people would show?
In what instance?
After we lost, 30 minutes after the game, you got your Doug talks to the media. How many fans were showing up to that if it was fan availability?
A few weeks ago? Yeah, I mean, obviously totally different. Probably none. You wouldn't do it.
No, I'm saying thousands would. Just to go to listen to what he had to say.
Oh, are you saying after the playoff game?
No, not after the playoff game. I'm saying just after any game that we lost this year.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think after a loss, I'm not so sure. Like, do you think people would just show up just because you can, the access to do it?
I bet they would.
Of course, they wouldn't have it for that instance. You got to have it around a positive thing.
Of course.
But, something, Delphonic is right. So, no Duval from Coen. And here's a little bit of a story I heard is that he is so locked in. Like, he told me in the sit-down interview that he's been off social media. Mm-hmm. Now, his wife obviously saw it, so it's not like he hasn't seen it. But I don't think he's got the scope of how much people have talked about it.
No shot. He's not scrolling through Barstool Sports.
Well,
and
yeah, but on this one, I'm not sure you have to be. This one, it's been all over the place. So it's kind of, I think it's a little hard to believe if he had said, I haven't even seen anything. All right, yeah, right. And his wife commented on it, I think, on Instagram, and had fun with it. She was great. She was like, hey, we'll practice the Duval thing, right? And because quite frankly, what I've been trying to tell people, but I'm not going to have this fight for Liam Coen, all right? Like, I'm not doing this. But the bottom line is people have taken this deal out of context so much. The way I viewed it, it wasn't his first Duval anyway. The first one was well done with the staff members. We played it that morning on the show before the news conference.
Right.
And I was like, hey, great job. That was a good move. The Duval was fine. And then I really think he was trying to play off like he was trying to just say it, and he wasn't trying to give a Duval like you normally would. He was just kind of talking about it and then singing it. And now listen, it backfired. But he wasn't trying to hit the Duval
That's
in
so
the
funny.
moment, you know? He was
funny.
It was in the middle of a speech. He wasn't trying to do that. But again, I know that. I could see that. I could sense that. But I also can't stop the outside part of it. He also did a Duval with us because I figured promotions would want it or something. And it was fine. I haven't even put it out there. But it's like he knows how to do it is the point. But to Delphonic's point, I was waiting for it too. I thought because this dude's got swag to him. Mm. And I was like, oh, he's gonna have fun with this.
He did it, but it was off the mic.
Well, it was off the mic and it was with everybody.
Right.
I really thought I was waiting for it. But I think part of the reason that he didn't do it is because he still really doesn't know how big of a deal it was all week. And he's not worried about it. I appreciate that part. To have something go crazy viral and not really be worried about it is actually pretty good. We'd all be kind of a little worried about it. Good excuse. It's not an excuse, King David. Like, it is. Like, he knew he's done it like 3 other times in the normal Duval setting. He was not trying to hammer the Duval like he was. I think he was actually trying to put a little spin on it, which backfired.
What a geeked conversation this is to have every day.
I know. I know. But listen, it's been a thing. It's just been a thing. So it's going to always be a thing. I was thinking about this. Like, you better win some
every
games.
win.
Oh, every win or loss.
No. After every win, we're going to do it. And then after every loss, the national media or whoever's playing us will send it to us.
Any press is good press, I guess, is what they said back in the day. Maybe
so.
this is one. I got a funny story. I'm talking to my mom on the way in, and just talking about whatever, just asking about the kids and everything. And then she's like, "How's the new coach?" And so I'm like, "Yeah, good." They had a pep rally for him last night, and I just think it's like I don't know. I haven't been talking to him. I don't know. And then she's like, "Hey, how's Trevor doing?" And I'm like, well, he had surgery at the end of the season, and he's like, she's like, oh, that's good. He's feeling better, blah blah blah. And I said, yeah, well, they had a baby. It's like, oh, they had a baby. All this stuff. I was like, yeah. It's like, how old? I said, oh, within the last month. Oh, what's the name? All this stuff. And I'm like, what, Mom? I don't know. I don't know all these details about Trevor and how he's changing diapers and how the baby is a few weeks later. But she's literally asking me about Trevor Lawrence. He's my neighbor or my cousin.
How's my grandbaby doing? How's my grandbaby Trevor doing?
It's just so funny how she was saying it. And she was like the grandma in the moment, right? Oh, that's awesome. He's a dad. So Trevor, Mom's looking after you, man. Yep. All right. She likes the name, by the way. She's like, no, what's the name? I'm like, oh, geez.
I forgot as well.
Shay.
Shay.
Right. And so I said, she's like, oh, I like that name. That's a great name. I didn't know. You never know, how the older folks are going to react to the newer names. Yeah. Right?
She's thinking Shea Stadium or something.
Yeah, I don't think she was thinking that. She would not know Shea Stadium, okay? So mom's all in on baby Shea.
It's cool, though, that it's I think you talked about a long time ago how your wife kind of thinks of it like that, too, in a sense. Trevor's personal life and how, because he just seems personable. He just seems like that guy in the community and to this team, where I guarantee you there's a lot of other franchise quarterbacks whose family members of people that are fans are not asking about how he's doing.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to articulate, but I think you're right. I think there's something to, and that's why I think Trevor really likes it here. Right. And I think why people like it here. But it is different. I don't know how to totally describe it, but I think you just did say it. It's like he's got brothers and sisters and moms and dads and grandmothers and grandfathers all over Jacksonville.
Right.
And that's a little bit of Jacksonville, and I think that's a little bit of fan bases, but it does feel more homey here in that sense. And I do think Buffalo feels that way. You would get that with Josh Allen. In Buffalo or other players. I really believe that. You'd get that in Green Bay. That's what's different about some of the markets. And I bet all the markets have some of that to it, but not as much as we can feel it here. And I think Trevor feels that. That's what I appreciate about Trevor. I think that's why this is comfortable for him. Mm-hmm. Now, will the fans turn on him eventually if he doesn't play good football? Well, that happens.
Yeah.
But I think they see what everybody sees. He's a good dude and easy to root for and all those things. And you are, the cool thing about this for me now as an older guy in this business is you get to watch these guys grow up. I've literally watched Josh Hines Allen and really his family grow up. Mm-hmm. The kid was in his arms 1 year old
at the
draft in Nashville. And now I saw him at an event in December, and he's running around, and he looks bigger than Ty. That's what you do get here, especially with some of the guys who've been around. We're going to do that with Trevor, 21 years old, newly married, now with a baby, eventually baby number 2, I would assume down the road, all those things. And I think Indianapolis saw that with a guy like Peyton Manning. And I don't feel the same way about that with Brady in New England, because New England's a different market than Indianapolis.
Right.
And also Brady was with the supermodel and everything else, so it felt like he's really in Hollywood.
Right.
I say this about Tebow. Tebow doesn't necessarily have that down-home feel here because he's such a star. Now, Trevor's a star, but still can have that kind of feel here because he's the quarterback of your football team.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's a weird. Again, I say this. It's hard to articulate it. You almost got to feel it.
Well, it's because Trevor's known for one thing, being a football player. Brady was known for a lot of things. Being a football player, the supermodel, cameos, doing this. Tebow's known for a billion things. Football, baseball, reality stuff, analyst. No, Brady also is now, but that doesn't apply because it was during his player career. I feel like Tebow could go host a bunch of game shows.
Yeah,
he's not known.
Yeah,
for
he's
just
red
football.
carpet. He's way more. Even though Trevor's a big name and he is a national endorser and all those things, he doesn't feel Hollywood.
Right.
Tebow's got a little Hollywood to him because of how big of a star he was. In that stretch. And people now would say like, "Wait, what are you talking about? Trevor's bigger."
No shot.
2008, 2009, 2010, like legit Beatles.
Right. Well,
Like Trevor's huge, but he's not Beatles kind of huge.
Well, that was also because news organizations and channels were talking about Tebow because of the Bible verses under his eyes and all of this stuff.
All different walks of life. Right? Yeah.
It was a news story just as much as it was a sports story. Trevor, it's only ever been sports.
Yeah. I was trying to go back and find some of the stuff, because she said something last night I thought was interesting when she texted me. She's like, hey, that looked like a cool evening or a fun evening or something like that, which is, by the way, great job by the Jags.
Right.
If you've got folks that weren't there and that's the way it looked, and it did, and it was. By the way, that's the reality of it. It was, but it doesn't always come across that way to everybody else. So I thought that was an interesting comment. Then I was like, I feel like she said something else about Trevor or something recently, and I can't find it. The only thing I can find is when on Monday after the news conference when she said, why are you always in trouble? Why can't you just behave? That was obviously the shot question, too. She hadn't even heard of it. I think she just saw everything going on social media. Getting scolded left and right. Hey, let's hear from some of the stuff from Liam Coen last night. You can take us wherever you want to go here, because I don't necessarily think he said a lot of things different, but I think what was noticeable yesterday, and this is why I thought this was so big, and you guys have, if you've been listening, I continue to pounce on it. I've said it. I mean, the transparency, the messaging, all those kind of things, the vision, the alignment. We continue to hear that from this guy. I think this guy's hitting a home run, not because he's from Rhode Island, because he's hitting those talking points. He has hit those talking points. He's delivering on those. He was engaged yesterday. This wasn't a guy that just said, hey, they made me come out and do this, so I got to go do this. That happens. You can see the difference. Whether you want to believe the difference sometimes or not, you can see the difference. That wasn't it. This dude is having the time of his life right now because this is a dream week for him. And sooner or later, he's going to come off from that and go to work. He's already going to work, but he's going to really go to work, and we're going to kind of see a turn, a pivot from that. But hey, why not enjoy it, man? This is like life-changing stuff, and he's been working at it for a really long time. So I appreciate that. The guy is really living in the moment, and he's engaged with these 2,000-plus fans that went yesterday, and he was having fun with it. And more on that, but he's also sharing his message, and that was part of this as well, to continue to pound home the message of what this thing's going to be all about. And Austin's been preaching this word for a long time. Vision. Well, guess what? Liam Coen is doing the same thing.
I think it first, starts with the vision, and that's where we're at. We have a clear vision in terms of where we're trying to go, right? The football, we know that we need to take care of that. Offense, defense, special teams, that's what we have to be able to take care of. But if we can have clear, concise communication and everybody be in alignment and trying to go to this level, right? Every day, stack blocks, try to get better each and every day. Football, staff, players, all included. Usually good things happen.
Hey, we need to, we need to get, I just thought of this, but we need to get one of those game showy, ding, when you get a check, right?
Right.
Because play this soundbite again, and the buzzwords that he hits in here, all right? Go ahead and play it again.
I think it first, starts with the vision, and that's where we're at. We have a clear vision in terms of where we're trying to go, right? The football, we know that we need to take care of that. Offense, defense, special teams, that's what we have to be able to take care of.
No.
But if we can have clear, concise communication
Ding!
and everybody be in alignment and
Ding!
trying to go to this level, right? Every day, stack blocks, try to get better each and every day. Football, staff, players, all included, usually good things happen.
Yeah, so, like, no, see, I'm not – he's hitting it. He's hitting alignment. He's hitting vision. He's hitting communication. That's where it is, more than how we're going to play football and everything. So, like, he is really hammering that stuff home, man. And I think he gets it. See, what I get out of this, and I want to do a little more digging on this, and I just haven't had a chance because, like, whether you need some more time around people. And even a guy like Baselli who was in the room. But to me, what he's delivering to you and to us on Monday and even yesterday in these kind of conversations is what he delivered to them, is why they liked him.
Right.
And again, this does go back to what we have been talking about, what has been missing. And I'm not telling you he's been listening. It's just that this is what you need to do. I was telling Stuart this yesterday, and Gus Bradley, you know, I've keep in touch with a lot over the years. And he told me this one time, and I don't really have all the specifics, but it's almost like when you interview, somewhere in an interview or something, you should be able to, I think you get posed the question like, what are you all about in 20 words or less? Maybe it's 25, maybe it's 15, I can't remember. But especially, it's like, what is your mission statement? And what is it in like 15 words or less? Like, that's one of the things that in these interviews, I think you'll be asked, or he had been asked in the past. And so Gus shared that with me. And I almost should know it by now because he shared it with me over the years. And it's like, want to be relentless and compete. And it's like boom, 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 boom. Like, that's what it is. And he can spit it out and he says it in his sleep, but like you deliver it. Well, to me, that's what he's kind of doing here. Now, there's another element of it where I think he really does it, but that's where he's hitting. He's hitting these points that when he got on that virtual interview with Shad Khan and at the time Trent Baalke and Ethan Waugh, whoever else was in there, even on interview number 2, this is what he's saying. This is my playbook. Not the X's and O's, but this is the playbook to be a CEO of an organization. And you say, here's what my vision is. We got to communicate that vision. We've got to all be in alignment on that vision. We got to go execute that vision. And the vision is boom, 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 boom. Now, he didn't say exactly what that vision is in terms of detail, but he's talking more of a broader scope in front of a microphone. There's no doubt in that interview, he went through bullet point 1, bullet point 2, bullet point 3.
Right.
You know? But again, folks, like, this is why I think it's such a big deal, is that's been missing a little bit around here. Now, one thing Tom Coughlin did a great job of, you walked in that thing, in that building, and you saw what they were all about on the walls. Grit was on the walls. So you knew, because you knew Tom Coughlin. He didn't even need to say it because you already knew him by that time of his career. Well, we don't know this guy. What's this guy all about? And he's delivering what he's all about. So there's another one. Let's get to the offense one, if you don't mind. I think this one it hits, because this one to me is the most fascinating. I wonder if we should do this right away. We're going to probably hit a break. Let's do it on the other side. So I promise on the other side we'll get to it. And did you know something about what he said Monday that he also said yesterday when it comes to the word fast? Because Weber's the one that educated me on this yesterday. I did not realize it. So we'll get to that when we come back. How about that? Brent and Austen Show on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network. Hey, Matthew Driscoll's going to come in. If you don't think we got some energy this morning, you got Matthew Driscoll coming in here at 11:30 as well. And Austen Lane will join us from South Florida around that time, too. Brian Thomas Jr.,
like
Logan Cook, Ross
picture.
Madisick. Yeah, Brian Thomas Jr., man. He's
cool
stoic.
cat.
He is a cool cat. Dodgeball was last night. I didn't watch a lick of it. Don't even know how they did. But I hope those guys are having fun down at the Pro Bowl.
When it comes to trucks, I know exactly what I want. And at Bozard Ford, they make it easy to get exactly that. Let's go make this truck a little more my style. With Bozard Built, I can create my perfect truck right here. Lift kit? Check. Premium wheels? You bet. Advanced lighting package? Oh yeah. The Bozard team works their magic. From bumper to tailgate, I'm making this truck mine. It's everything that I wanted and more. From the field to the gym to weekend adventures. This truck's built for my journey. Bozard built. Customized for your lifestyle, built to exceed your expectations. Check out the inventory and available options at bozardbuilt.com. Unleash your dream ride. Customized, covered, and Bozard approved.
When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway or shop online at nimnickbuickgmc.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness, and most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick. GMC, we are professional grade.
There's a saying in sports, you can't win them all, but you can win a lot with good folks on your team. Like that one painter, First Coast. It's tough to beat the sun in Florida, so your home fades. It's tough to beat that HOA when they come calling. Beat the sun, beat the HOA with that one painter, First Coast. And it's a good time to do it. Less rain to work around, and painting in mild temperatures is perfect. After all, the paint bonds to the surface so much better. Give that one painter First Coast a call at 904-417-3557 or look them up at first-coast.thatonepainter.com. Fast estimate, guidance on color and HOA requirements, and the highest quality job you'll find anywhere. Be a big winner in your neighborhood with that one painter First Coast on your team.
'24 provided plenty of memorable moments for the Jacksonville Armada on the pitch, including another conference championship game appearance for Tommy Krasanovich's under-23 men's team. Debuting this year for the first time, the girls in blue, as the Armada fielded a women's under-23 side in the WPSL and made its presence known with some highlight moments.
Potential goal of the season!
Then attention turned to the future, with MLS Next teams representing the Armada badge in 3 age divisions this fall, including an under-19 squad ranking among the best in the state. Those teams are a big focus on Fleet and Footy, covering the big soccer stories each week on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
I'll put one in the back of the net for you.
Join us for player profiles, fun interviews, and the very latest on the Fleet and all things footy. That's every Thursday at 2 p.m.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Anthony Campanile is the new defensive coordinator of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and now we'll see offensive coordinator drop pretty soon, and Campanile will have a big say on who else they get on D-line and the linebackers and the corners, and, of course, all the millions of coaches now that we have on the sidelines for every NFL team. And this process still very early in terms of being announced, right? We really only know 2, Campanile and Heath Farwell is coming back along with the head coach, Liam Coen. Sounds like he did his research on the building and team before he got the job, says Timmy. He didn't show up with his own plan, but he showed up with a Jags plan, keeping special team coach included in that. You're right. You're right. And I said this earlier in the week, and eventually I'll have more conversations about this. He might have looked into this as every building, and this is the way you do it in every building. This way you got to be done. But one of the things that he did say, again, in our sit-down, like, these are things that have worked in the places that I've been. Well, the places that he's been from maybe the college days, and even what worked at Kentucky, what didn't work at Kentucky, some of the good teams versus not the great teams when he was there. Also what has worked in the Rams building, right, and the Tampa building, and he's seen success there. So he's obviously taking some of those principles. You're taught along the way, but this guy's been groomed ever since he was a very young kid with his dad coaching, and even some of those things started way, way early for him. But I do think I feel like he did his homework on this place, and he heard about maybe from around the league or other people, like, what's missing. I think some of this comes from the player conversations and the ones that he had and what they feel like is missing. But man, he might have gone into the Miami Dolphins job if he got that job, or the Raiders job. Well, Raiders probably more like the Jags, but the Patriots job, and said the same stuff. But I don't know if it's just because it's hitting home that he's right on the money here, or he actually did have a feel. And what I said, and I never finished the statement, but I've been doing this for 17 years around here. Like, I'm not telling you it took me 17 years to come up with this, but the impressive part for him is it feels like he nailed this organization after looking at it for 2 weeks. Like, that dude has got a great feel, in my estimation, of this place already. Mm-hmm. Now, we'll see if that continues, but that's what I get. And remember what Joe Trainer said when he came on. High emotional IQ guy. Mm-hmm. Like, he gets it. He's not just locked in his own little world. He feels it, gets it, knows the relationships, knows what you're feeling. Like, that's what that means, and then can bring all that together. Well, I think he's doing that in a really good way. And I don't know if he was advised by his agent, Jacques McClendon, who used to play for the Jags. Maybe he's gathering everything from listening and watching other things and what's gone on really for months, right? Because there's no doubt they thought this guy could be in play going back to the middle of the season if you're his agent. So I don't know how much of that is fed to him, how much of that he had to do, but the bottom line is it feels like he's aware of it. And I think that part is pretty cool. All right, the other thing, I did not know this. Did you know FAST was an acronym?
Yes.
I didn't get that.
Immediately. I was wondering, as soon as Brent.
I thought he was describing the play.
No, as soon as he said the F, I was wondering, what's the S going to be?
Yeah, see, you and Stuart figured this out. You guys are high, like, SAT guys. I'm not. So I didn't know that. Like, I was just thinking everybody says you want to play fast.
Yeah, it's true.
He did not say play. He did not, in his opening statement on Monday, go, hey, we're going to play fast, and then go boom, boom, boom. No, we kind of like blended it all together if you really go back and listen.
Yeah.
And even Weber said, I didn't hear it in the opener.
Oh, yeah.
But he heard it yesterday during the pep rally.
Oh, he said it again yesterday.
So, well, here's the bite. You got it. Coen on, what did I label it? Coen on offense? There's a couple of them. So let's see if this is the one.
The slant, yeah, exactly. You know, the slant's always open, man. Until you hit the sluggo. Got to get the slug. Hey, but this play, like we said, there's a core foundation belief that we want to play with. We want to be fast. And what does that mean? That means, hey, fundamentally sound, attacking, situational masters, and tough, both mentally and physically. What does that look like? I can't tell you. Hey, we will be in 11 personnel, 12 personnel, 21 pony personnel, and be able to mix this thing up so we can. Defenses aren't going to get a beat. We've got to be able to do those things to give our players the best chance.
Oh, did you hear that? Did you hear that applause? Right? Yeah, Delphonic, I know he did the FAST acronym at the presser, man. I didn't get it, is what I'm telling you.
It could have been a little bit better done because we have some adjectives and then the situational masters, the noun. It's like, oh, man, you wanted like each one to be in the same format.
But again, these are very leadership-y kind of things, right? This is what does happen. But the bottom line, listen, we talk a lot of people want to play fast in football. Like that, if you're an offensive guy and you're saying I want to play fast, that's like normal.
That's good.
Listen, Weber didn't get it at first either, but he got it yesterday. I didn't get it either time. All right, like I really thought he was just talking about playing fast, much like you would talk about a defense playing fast. But then again, so here's the deal though: the reality of it on the acronym is what are the Jags missing? Like, see, again, I think this is part of the sell. Like, I think I might have put yesterday on social media, this is why he got the job. This acronym is why he got the job. Because you heard him say, the last part, it's really not the acronym part, it might have been the last part of what he said.
Tough.
He's like, we are going to be tough to figure out.
Oh, yeah.
Like, guess what? That was something that Shad Khan brought up a few weeks ago. He said, we are too predictable. Well, you knew he was going with that young offensive mind, say, I need unpredictable. And they're so unpredictable, Coen couldn't even tell you exactly what it looked like, but we're going to be lined up in all this stuff, and you're going to have to figure it out on the defensive side, and we're not going to have tendencies that you'll be able to figure out all the time. We're not just going to do what we do. Although I do think there's an element you have to do what you do. But it's going to be tough, whether it's putting people in motion, using guys in different roles, whatever it is. So you can get to the X's and O's part of that. But if you really break it down, fundamentally sound. Well, the Jags, I think every coach wants to be some of these things. But how good are you at preaching it, coaching it, delivering on it? And honestly, the Jags haven't been good over the last few years. They are not a highly penalized team under Doug Peterson. So there's an element of that they're fine. But how many times did we also see the operation? One of my big disappointments of the Jacksonville Jaguars over the last few years really came in year number 2 of this system. This would have been in 2023 when they obviously hand the duties over to Press Taylor. I don't think it has to do with Press Taylor and the play calling in this instance and example. But they were not functioning like a team that had been in the system for 2 years.
Right.
We had heard so much from Doug Peterson, like, hey, year two, you got to have some experience in it. You know, that's when it took off for Carson Wentz. We saw it with guys like Mahomes and Lamar Jackson and others. And so we're like, okay, we get that. It's not necessarily year 2 of Trevor Lawrence, but it's year 2 of this offense. And now watch it go. Well, what does Doug do? He hands the play calling off. Well, what about the continuity, Doug? I mean, that part was a mistake. But bigger than that, if you go back and watch some of those early games, one of the reasons we didn't like them handing it off to Press Taylor, and everybody was like, this is not going like it should go. It doesn't look, even though they're winning some games here, it doesn't look the way it should look. It still feels a little bit out of place or disjointed. And some of that was just simply lining up, simply false starts, simply the operation of the offensive play. Well, I would say some of that carried even into this year. The Jags have to avoid that. Like, good teams avoid that. And this is what he's saying. Will he be able to teach that, preach that, them be able to deliver that? We'll see. Because everybody wants to do that. Like, that's not a Liam Coen thing. That's an everybody thing. But do they put the emphasis on it? Do they coach it the right way? Do they get into the details of it where you execute that, where you're not getting delay of games, you're not getting illegal motions, you're not getting jumping offsides and false starts, and on both sides of the ball. So operationally is what I look at. Attack, right? They're going to obviously be aggressive. Does that mean up-tempo a little bit, Hamby? Could we get them into some up-tempo stuff, sugar huddle kind of stuff? Everybody wants that. Everybody feels like Trevor's comfortable in that. Do we get that? Not the whole game. This isn't Chip Kelly bringing it to the Eagles or a college game. But do you get a little bit more of that? Or what does attacking look like? I think is an interesting one. We'll find out in the fall. What does that mean to him? That could simply be the run game.
Right.
We're going to attack in the run game, and that he did a good job of that in Tampa and other places they've been. And then these two are really where I think the Jags can go from here to here. And if this guy can get them from here to here, they're going to be much better on offense.
Right.
Situational awareness.
Yeah.
Right. This is something where even Trevor's lacked at times. I think this is somewhere where the coaching staff lacked. I'll bring you my Philadelphia example once again. The coaching staff lacked before Trevor lacked in that instance in Philadelphia in a 28-23 game with 1:45 on the clock, and you're in scoring range with your defense that can't stop anybody. And you didn't run the ball, but you threw it to the end zone on first down. That's a coaching problem because they brought that play into play. But it's also has been a quarterback problem at times with the awareness. And maybe even a team problem at times where you don't see it as much, and it's hard to know. Did the Jags have situational awareness issues at linebacker over the last couple of years? Absolutely. Can they coach Devin Lloyd to be better in those situations? Did they have situational awareness problems in their safety position with Andre Sisco this year? I would say absolutely. So this is what it's all about in the NFL. Like, you have got to have a level of IQ about the football game and about situational awareness, when and where you can go try to make a play and when and where you can't. So if they can get much better, this is why the Chiefs are a dynasty.
Right. Yeah.
This is the one. Because they don't beat themselves 9 out of 10 times. They've turned it over once in 2 months, folks. Once. And they still won the game last week. You have got to be able to do this at a high level, in the highest of levels, in the biggest of games. And the great teams and the great players are able to do that. And nobody actually gives credence to it, usually, because it's not a statistical part of the game. And it's not a highlight part of the game that you're going to see on SportsCenter or other places. But it's a huge part of the game from a coaching standpoint and from a good team standpoint. In any sport, quite frankly, but especially with 11 guys trying to do the same thing in the sport of football.
Yeah.
And then the last one, by the way, is toughness. And this is another one where the Jags are lacking. And I really just want to send this out to the players. This is not disrespecting you. Like, it's a tough game. I couldn't play it. I wouldn't play it. I respect it. This isn't me calling you soft, but the bottom line is the level of toughness changes. The level of toughness changes week to week in the postseason alone. You could tell the way Kareem Hunt was running the ball in that game Sunday was different than he ran it 4 weeks ago, because it meant a lot more. And the postseason antes up that much more. So the Jags, on any given Sunday, if you've got to play the Steelers, if you've got to play the Ravens, if you've got to play, quite frankly, the Chiefs, are you physically ready? Are you mentally tough enough and physically tough enough to beat those guys? Mm-hmm. And I would just say in the last few years, I don't see that a lot. I've seen it on occasion, and it's actually impressed me on occasion, even going back to 2022. But I think they have been mentally weak at times. Even at the jump of the year, when you lose the football going in the end zone and they beat you for 80 yards and you lose against the Dolphins, they didn't recover. And quite frankly, they might not have recovered all season because of a play like that. That's not mentally tough enough. And we've seen other examples of it. Physically tough enough, all you got to do is go back to the Tennessee game last year where they whooped your ass and they weren't playing for anything. So, like, how can they do that? I don't know. That's his job. But I like that he's addressing it. And to me, those last two things, situational awareness and toughness, are where the Jags can get the bar to go so much higher. And if they do that, they will automatically be much better.
Yeah. You talk about situational awareness as far as ending games. I think situational mastery, situational awareness, also the biggest part in the NFL where that plays a role is in the red zone, right? Where the Jags have not been. They've been far from situationally phenomenal in the red area in the last couple of years. It seems like you on your TV almost know exactly what they're going to do. And it's almost like there was a lot of times last year with Trevor healthy. I'm not just saying when Mac was in, but with Trevor healthy, where we get the ball down to the 5 and we're like really scratching our head whether we're going to score a touchdown or not. Right? And that just hasn't been last year. That was in 2023 as well. One of the best things that I stats-wise about Liam Coen and Tampa Bay offense in 2023, red zone efficiency, this is touchdown percentage only. They were 48%, okay, which would have been bottom 10. Last year, they were 67%. They boosted it 19 percentage points, touchdown efficiency in the red zone. Okay, well, that's a big part of that is situational awareness. When and where to throw the ball, when and where to run the ball, up the middle, off the tackle, outside, anything like that. The other point I'll put out there when he's talking about 11, 12 personnel, yeah, that was the staple of the Jags offense. That's not new. Every team runs this. These are the basic personnel packages in the NFL. But I'm interested to see what he does with 21 personnel, which is 2 backs, right? And how often did we see Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby both in the game at the same time last year?
None. I mean, somebody said, I think Jeff Logman told me that they actually had him in a couple times. I don't remember it.
I don't remember it.
And not enough to remember. And we were begging for it a lot last year. Like, where is this? Right? So, and we never got to it. It'll be interesting to see if he does that this year. Why not?
Right. And I can't tell you off the top of my head how much Tampa Bay ran that. if I had to guess, it seems like they ran it a couple of times versus the Commanders. And look, this is not a personnel grouping formation that that's not going to be your base. You're going to just mix it in every once in a while. But it does seem like another wrinkle that Doug and Press kind of just like left untouched, that they didn't really mess around with. And we see it across the league a ton, right? And to be able to get Etienne and Bigsby both in the game at the same time and utilize that, I think would be a great thing for the Jaguars offense. And again, that just goes back to, he's talking about keeping defenses on their toes. Well, if you live only in 11 and 12 personnel with 3 receivers or 2 receivers out wide every play and 1 back in the backfield, there's only so many things you can do, right? But if you're spreading it out more or putting 2 guys in the backfield, that goes back to the run game, right? That's also what the Lions did a good bit.
Yeah.
They'd swap them out each drive, but they'd also have them in there at the same time. And so if a guard's pulling, you think everything's going that way, and they can counter the other way with Montgomery, and then you got one weak side defender there, you're going to have success more times than not, regardless of who the back's going to be.
Yeah.
Because you put your offense in a good position to succeed. So, I mean, again, highly encouraging stuff as far as uniqueness and new things coming to the Jags offense.
Yeah, and by the way, again, you can say it, you got to do it, right? I think that every coach would like to do something. It's how much do you say it? How much do you, that clarity, that this is what we do. And I do think there was way too much gray area under Doug Peterson. I really do. That's a genuine thought of mine, and I think I'm right on that, quite frankly. I think there was too much gray area for players, maybe even in the building. I think for you, the fans, right? Listen to a news conference. And there was plenty of gray area. So I think this is more pointed, and I like that idea. I also think, how do you get the toughness, right? I mean, Dan Campbell was a tough dude. Mike Mularkey came on our show and said, like, he played with a toughness. He could do that. He thought, and he had a lot of respect for Doug, but he's like, is that a different level of toughness when you're coming from that vantage point than you are from a backup quarterback in the NFL or just a quarterback position? Well, Liam Coen does come from a quarterback position. Can he get to the level of that toughness that you need? Listen, you don't have to be a big dude or a physical dude that played in the trenches to get that. I'm just saying, how do you get that across? Harbaugh, Tomlin, like these guys, it's not like they played right guard in the NFL, or defensive tackle. Their teams play that way. So, but you've got to preach it all the time. And it seems like this guy's going to do it. So I like that. I like the acronym. I think it's also something that we can test him on a little bit, or test his team on in the fall, because this is what we know it is. Mm-hmm. Again, that's great for the fans. It's great for everybody else. It's okay to hold people accountable. What are we holding you accountable for? Well, you said this. I mean, we tried to hold Doug accountable all year on the play calling stuff because he said this. Mm-hmm. And we just never got it, right? There's the gray area again. So I do like some of the things going on that he's saying. Again, these are words right now, and I get you winning on Sundays. But the words, if they're being practiced, are important for the whole building. And maybe for this whole town, and maybe for this whole franchise, as much as it is for the football team and the locker room and everything else that eventually lands you on playing games on Sunday. So I think he's really off to a good start in a lot of this. We're going to hear from more Liam Coen in just a bit. But since we're talking about some of the offense, we had a chance to catch up with Tony Baselli. Give us a little bit of insight, just a little bit, on what happened in that room last week in the interview process with Liam Coen, why he kind of fell in love with Liam Coen. I think you'll hear that. He's totally on board with this hire. And some of the other things that are going on with Baselli right now, where he's kind of in, I wouldn't say limbo, but we're all waiting to see what position he gets. Then what does that front office look like with the GM and everything else? We caught up with Tony Baselli last night.
Well, he sees the game, or he believes the game should be played the way I do. I know that. It starts up front, and you heard him say it in the press conference, how important the offensive line is. And then you watch the tape last year of what they were when he got there, last in rushing, and by the end of the season, top 5. And the design of how he does it, and the creativity of helping his offensive line, defining stuff for the back, but then also marrying the pass game to it. And so it's really good. And I'm excited to see what he'll do here. Obviously, we have a long way to go, and he hasn't even got a chance to be in front of all the players and stuff. But you watch the tape, and then you listen to him. It's exciting.
So that's Tony Baselli on the offensive side of things, and a lot of wheeze in there for Tony. I mean, again, he's in an interesting spot right now, but I mean, he's a part of this thing. We know that. Like, that's a given. Shad Khan said it. Now I think we wait to find out what does that mean and what does this front office look like. But he's in that role, and we had a lot of people commenting. I mean, they look like they get along really well, him and Liam Coen. Listen, everybody gets along well in the first week, but you do like that. Like a little bit of that energy coming from Baselli and Coen, like that is totally different than the energy you'd see with Balky and anybody. But in general, you don't like the way they're interacting. That shows you the youth of Coen. Again, the swagger, he's comfortable, like all those things. And I'm going to give you another example of that a little bit later on that I thought was pretty interesting. Just kind of the kind of swag that this guy has, like a little bit of that bravado that it takes to get up in front of a room and lead men and be comfortable in what you do. And you don't care if people are making fun of your Duval or anything else. And there's some of that. All right, hey, Matthew Driscoll going to join us in a bit. We're going to keep talking some football, too, but we'll also get you set for the River City Rumble. Let's take a time out. Brent and Austen Show on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. We've got hockey tonight here on My TV Jax and on the network. We can't stream it, so we show it on TV on My TV Jax. It's tonight, Savannah and the Icemen. It's retro night. Tonight here and then tomorrow in Savannah. So a little back-to-backer, and that's how you find My TV Jax on the right side, 30.2, one of the handful of games that we're broadcasting this season for the Jacksonville Icemen. If you can't get down to the arena, you can watch it on My TV Jax, JacksonvilleIcemen.com. By the way, if you do want to get down there, be a part of the action. Nothing like watching a hockey game in person. It's a good time down there at the Jacksonville Icemen. If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit. When you hear that, you think Bono's Pit Barbecue, a staple in Northeast Florida now for 75 years. A place that feels like home with friendly service, a meeting place for friends, family, or business occasions. On the menu, the corn nuggets are a favorite in our house, but there's something for everyone. Sandwiches, platters, salads, sides, desserts, and family feasts. You see Bono's all over the place in Northeast Florida. You know, there are almost 20 locations in the Jacksonville area now, so stop on by, sit down, and dine in with Bono's. You can also take it to go. There are drive-thrus in many of the locations, and they have delivery options too. Just download the Bono's app to make things easy. I signed up for the loyalty program, and you can too, to get special offers. If Jacksonville is home, few things feel more Jacksonville than Bono's Pit Barbecue. Celebrate 75 years and many more to come. Bono's Pit Barbecue. If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
For the game day hustle and every day in between. Juggling my show, Jags Social, to going under the Friday night lights and a social life, it's a daily tournament. But this ride, MVP status. The all-new 2024 Lincoln Nautilus isn't just my car, it's my personal locker room, office on the go, and VIP lounge on wheels. Let's talk tech. My profile remembers everything from customizing my dash display to setting the ambient lighting and my signature scent. And wireless charging, essential for live tweeting scores. Whether I'm packing for a beach day with friends or heading to the gym, there's space for every passion. After dominating all day, this becomes my recovery zone. The massage feature is like having a personal PT on call. Life's a non-stop game, but with this ride, I'm always on my A game. The 2024 Lincoln Nautilus. Drive your passion.
You trust CGC to make your water great, and now you can trust CGC with your plumbing needs as well. Fast, convenient scheduling, licensed and insured. A quick call away at 904-552-1242. You never know when you're going to have an issue with a shower, toilet, or maybe it's a sink that sometimes is easy to fix. All right, let's be honest. I'm not fixing anything. I'm totally staging this because when I have a plumbing problem, I call CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing. Trained professionals, transparent pricing, customer satisfaction. Small problem or even a bigger issue. Right now, save 10% off a new Rinnai tankless water heater. The experts with 25 years of experience at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing can do it all. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. For a limited time, CGC is waiving the trip charge on all related plumbing calls. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
Here on Spring Sports Media Day on Action Sports Jax.
It's an opportunity, an education beyond the classroom and the sports arena. life skills, testing skills, social skills. It's called High School 912, a program focused on maximizing the growth of students in academics, sports, and life. And here's your chance to get involved. If you're a local business, or if you just want to make a donation to help support programs like ACT and SAT boot camps, career days, Leadership Academy, Financial Literacy Academy, and so much more.
All right, another Nice High School Panther, Jack Cool.
High School 912 supports and hosts high school sporting events and several media days throughout the year. For more information on how you can get involved, visit jackshighschool912.com.
It's the place we party in football season with Jaguars All Access. Welcome to Spring Sports Brewery, everybody. Say hello to our guest tonight. That is Trevor Lawrence. You can bring your party or event to Spring Sports Brewery in Springfield any day and any time. Rehearsal dinners, corporate events, birthdays. Here at Strings, you can enjoy the inside area and the outside area. Good for any weather, good for any occasion. Watch the games, play the games, shoot some hoops. Beer? Yeah, they have that. Plenty of choices. And sure, this is a brewery, but Strings is also a restaurant, and the food is fantastic. A full menu made from scratch meals. And if you need String Sports Brewery to help with a party at your place, they cater too. Family, beer, food, sports. Spring Sports Brewery in Springfield.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Well, that was a fun one to call the other night. The Ospreys getting it done 101 to 100. I don't know if it was a fun one to be on the sideline, but I think I feel the coaches' angst sometimes calling these games on ESPN+. But it was a good call with Jacob Ridenauer, Molly McDonald, and Nate Litteris coming up big and getting a big 3 and then a 2 to win it. That is the chuckle of Matthew Driscoll, who probably wasn't chuckling much during that one.
I actually turned to Coach Evans and I said, when I called the timeout with 5.7 or whatever it was, and I said, "We're losing." He goes, "Yeah." I knew what I wanted to do. I knew what we were going to do, but I'm like, I just looked, and I'm like, "We're losing." My Dunkin' Donut people were just wonderful human beings. There's a group of them, mostly retired except for one guy. And they love on me, and they're really, really good to me, and ebbs and flows and all that kind of good stuff, And this morning, they're like, "Coach, like I was having a heart attack for you."
Yeah.
I just don't.
I kind of was too.
Well, but you look at the JU Florida Gulf Coast, they were almost 2 identical games.
Same thing.
2 identical games.
Yeah.
Close it out.
Yep.
Right? And then it's, it doesn't matter if you win by 8 or you win by 7. But to get down 1, just like them, and now you got to, do some things, miss on purpose for them.
Yeah.
And for us, Georgia Southern was a good, one for us. We've always had that kind of in our repertoire. Coach Barnes did it a long time ago. His kid did it this year against Illinois, but he did it against Kentucky in the 90s when he was at Clemson. And so we've always kind of had that deal if you've had that opportunity. We tried against Georgia Southern, but we elected to pull up and shoot a 3 instead of trying to get fouled or go into the rim.
Because you're talking basically what happened at the end of the game. Ospreys were up by 14, and they never got higher than 14, but it really was 12 and 10 and 8 and 10 and 12.
With less than under 4-minute media, we were going to the line with a 1-and-1, and it was 9 getting ready to go to 11.
That's right. And then missed that.
Correct.
And then a couple turnovers, and they cash in with some big shots
3s.
as well. 3s.
3s, or they kill you. I've been trying to say that for years.
Yes, you have. Your 3s have killed
others.
Well,
look at the ones we made in over.
Absolutely. But anyway, just to set the table for everybody, if you didn't see the game, the 99, this was at the end of regulation with 5 seconds to go, 5.7. You guys run a play. Basically, you throw it to half court. Jalen Smith, the point guard, is a fast point guard. He was the inbounder. You kicked it right back to him.
What do we call that in football?
What?
Hook and ladder.
Oh, the hook and ladder. Yeah, it was basically. Yeah, it was either
Tommy
give
Bowden would
give
never,
and go or hook and ladder.
He would never run that for me. Every week I say, Coach, can you just run the hook and ladder for me?
Well, now Ben Johnson does like all the time in Detroit. It's like a normal
Coach
play.
Bowden just wouldn't do it for me.
But anyway, Jalen Smith goes all the way down. He gets fouled on the way to the basket. He was going 100 miles an hour, and he hit one of two. That forced overtime, and then you guys got it done in the overtime session. Litteris, who hit the first 2 threes of the game, hit a big three in the corner, and then obviously finishes it off with the 2. And it's all about making a play at the end to get it done.
You know, Brent, he wasn't defending well for us. We're talking about this new DC that the Jags hired, and kind of how that looks.
You think you should hire him?
in the way in which it goes, right? And so when you hire somebody or you bring somebody in or you look at those things, Nate just wasn't doing what we needed him to do. However, he's a 6th-year player. He's got an incredible acumen as far as how to play and how to defend. For whatever reason, it just wasn't flowing well for him. You and I were just talking about that with the Jaguars and kind of how that looks.
Yeah.
And so bringing in a DC, bringing in an OC is great, but at the end of the day, it's about players, not plays, right? Everybody always talks about the old saying, Jimmy's and Joe's, not the X's and O's, but in the end of the day, it really is about players, not plays. And so when you have that acumen, some of the guys even said, Coach, let's bring Nate back in, which I think when you have a player-coach team, now you're always going to listen to them.
Yeah, true.
But nonetheless, when you have a player-coach team, and so he came in and made a couple nice stops for us too. But that's the other thing too, Brent. Like, we kind of joke about it, laugh about it. We call it sphincter time. When you kind of get a little bit uptight, right? And but when you get to overtime, it's a 5 minutes game. And so, are you going to go away from who you are? Or are you going to shoot that pull-up transition 3 Josiah bucket?
That's right.
Are you going to shoot that corner 3 Nate bucket? Liam had a wide open one in the corner. He unfortunately just missed it. Josiah had another wide open one, wide open.
Top of the key.
Right? So what are you going to do? Are you going to change and just go to the rim and get fouled? And you could.
Yeah.
But if this is the way you do it, and we talk to our guys about this all the time. Like I tell our guys all the time, you should be making somewhere between 15 to 23s a game. Because if you watch us play, like we're going to get open threes. Mm-hmm. But you've got to be prepared. We call locked and loaded, butt down, fingers up, and you're looking to let it go. So to Jalen's credit, he did what you just said. He executed. The guys executed. Let me phrase it that way better, and got to overtime, and we've won 4 of our last 6. And obviously, JU's in first place. And that's what few people realize about when you play these guys. Number one, you play them twice. Number 2, it's not Xavier Cincinnati. It's not a one-time, whatever.
Yeah.
Skyline chili fight or whatever they call it. But in the same breath, it's Duke Carolina, which is this weekend. It's not only is it have a lot River City Rumble and alumni and fan base and all that stuff, but the reality of it in our league, like which game keeps you in, which game keeps you out, and which game gets you home, and which game puts you on the road.
Yeah.
And last year at Austin Peay, you lose in double overtime in the regular season, and that was the game. And you say, well, Coach, we played Austin Peay in the tournament on the road. So whoever won that game, you only played once. And that's the other thing about this league. So like Lipscomb JU, right? That was their loss earlier in the season, right? Mm-hmm. Well, they only play them once. So
that's the tiebreaker.
So that's the tiebreaker. First, it goes right to head. And so you say, well, that's not really fair. Well, it doesn't matter if it's fair. It's just life because everybody's got a lot of those.
Yeah, the off schedule.
The off schedule, yeah. Unless you want to play, which isn't bad, 22 home and homes. That is not the end of the world either. So, and I think this is an interesting week for this game too because no off weeks this year. So when I mean that, I mean just your travel partner. So usually you're off and you play on Saturday or Friday, depending on what's
that extra
best crowd, whatever. But this week we both go Wednesday, Saturday. Now there were games last night, but so the league, and then I don't know if you probably don't know this, but when we get to February, like it's like really, really convoluted. Like I'm talking like we end the season Monday, Wednesday.
It's a Monday, yeah. It is weird.
After playing Wednesday, Friday.
Yeah, so totally different.
And it's on the road at Florida Gulf Coast Monday, home versus Eastern Kentucky Wednesday. Eastern Kentucky, guess who they play on Monday? JU.
They're actually home.
So
Had less travel.
Which JU UNF, it's always the best game to play because you never leave your bed.
Yeah.
And so it's just the league's a little bit. The ending of the league this year is a little bit different than it's been in the past, and so for a myriad of reasons, it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
But I think when you look at our league, and we always say this, and then we can, kind of translate this to the Jaguars too, because like their league, like. Everybody thought this, that, and the other. When we came in and did the show, I remember talking about it, right? But when you get in the crux of it, who knows? Right, next thing you know, this team's here, this team's there. Where did this team come from?
That's
Queens.
right. Queens.
Right.
Stetson even.
Yeah, I mean, Stetson won no Division I games. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah,
they won no Division I games in a non-conference.
And they were 5-3 going into.
And they won 5 league, and they won 3 in a row, and they had just won 2 huge road games. And so they're coming here and yada, yada, yada. So I just got done, a coach in the league called me. That's the one thing about being the oldest guy in the league. And
you get calls.
Wanted me to help him with a couple things. And and I said this the other day in my press conference, the SEC is getting all this love. But it's great for them. But at the end of the day, the A-Sun is the best basketball league in America. Like, it's a one-bid league. Lipscomb last night, Eastern Kentucky at home. I mean, it's every single night. It is a beast. And if you don't come and you don't understand that, like things could go the wrong way.
Yeah.
And
there's so much on the line because it's a one-bid league.
And it's a highest seed home league, which is as great. So now you do all this work during the regular season to put yourself in place to be one of those teams and to try to get that, because at the end of the day, being at home does make it nice.
Absolutely.
We've got 2 straight weeks, because we're home next weekend as well too. So my point to you is I think college basketball is really exciting right now down in this area because of Florida, doing what they're doing, and I think Florida State's obviously they're ebbing and flowing, but can they get enough to get in? I don't know the ACC as well. UCF's had some pretty good deals.
They've had some good performances.
And that's a Big 12, right?
Yeah.
And that's why, and then you go over to South Florida, obviously, losing coach was a big deal. But they've ebbed and flowed as well, too. So, Florida Gulf Coast and JU right now tied atop, with Lipscomb's loss last night. Queens and North Alabama, and they all got 3 losses. And our first year in 09, 9-10. There were 4 teams that tied for first, and the 5th place team was a half out, and in the championship, 5 played 6.
That's with you guys.
No.
That wasn't the year you guys were?
I appreciate it. That was very kind of you. It was the next year.
Oh, next year.
Yeah, we actually lost to JU in the first round.
Okay.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Sorry.
But it's that to me is important.
Yeah.
Jordan obviously and I think we're 3-3. We've been really blessed. We're like 17-7 in the last 24. But Jordan obviously has come in and done a really good job.
He's done a nice job. Yeah, they're playing well. We'll talk more about it. Did we have Austen in? He's been hanging out?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. We want to get him in.
Oh, I thought you said in, like he was going to be in.
No, we don't. He doesn't work here anymore. He only lives in South Florida and Las Vegas.
Hey, let me tell you something, though. You look good, though, son.
Appreciate it, Coach. Just
you know what you remind me of?
Session in, I'm still looking good.
You know what he reminds me of? Sunday. See that? Groundhog Day. He looks the same every single day. That's who you were. Wale and Lil Yachty, they performing Saturday night right out on campus in Lot 18. So we got a little Yachty, a little Wale, a little UNF at JU, and then Groundhog, and then do it all over again. You look good, son.
Appreciate you, Coach. Hey, Coach, since we got you on, man, because you know us, man, we don't talk a lot about the NBA, and I want to get your opinion about something. Jimmy Butler's a big name right now in the NBA. Obviously, he kind of had a fallout in Miami a little bit. And I think what you're looking at now with Jimmy Butler is a guy where you have to ask the question, does the talent outweigh the distraction? And we see this all the time in the NFL where it's like, guys, I mean, teams will take a risk on a player. Look at Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt's been through a laundry list of things. Kansas City Chiefs take a risk on him once again. He's playing in the Super Bowl now. I feel like basketball is a little different because there's not as many players, right? It's more about chemistry and getting along. Like, do you think Jimmy Butler is worth, taking a chance on, sacrificing some first round picks on to try to bring to your team? Or does his history indicate that, you know what, he may be talented, coach, but he's just not worth it?
That level, in my opinion, is transactional. And I think you have to say, what's the risk versus the reward? I think Belichick probably did it as much as anyone. Took some guys that maybe people, I think Randy Moss might have been one of them.
Randy
Correct
Moss,
me if I'm wrong.
Antonio Brown was another guy.
Antonio Brown, there's a great example. And so the risk versus reward, his talent definitely outweighs. And I think if I'm not mistaken, you guys are much more in this. I have a lot of other things that I deal with. I don't deal with this stuff daily. If I did, I would know it or remember it. But I think Jimmy went to Miami out of the same auspice. I think he was kind of like knocked out of where he was, and things weren't going well, and he was kind of pouting.
Right there,
and he was kind of pouting, and that all of a sudden he ends up in Miami, helps lead them to the championship, and so I think he's been through this. I think he's a guy that understands this, and I think if you do take him, you got to understand the warts are there, and you've got to accept them. But he's transactional, so who needs somebody down the stretch that can get him into the tournament, or that can get him into a higher seeding, that can give him an opportunity to beat Oklahoma City or beat the Cavs, or in my opinion, the Celtics are still the Celtics, even though they've struggled here and there. But it's transactional, and I think at that level you understand that. And I don't think he screws up the locker room. I don't think any of that stuff with that guy, because when you look at him, like he plays. He's like, you know what? He's like Iverson. Like, he plays really, really hard. Like, he's one of those dudes that can just go out and get it for you. So it's a transactional deal. And in our industry, in our business, that happens too. There's that one offset or that one outlier, and you say to yourself, and I'm going to give you a good example. Jimmy Williams was that guy for us. And we're like, man, but, and we're like, you know what? We got 12 other dudes in the locker room, and them dudes are really good, and we feel like we're really good molders of men, and yada, yada, yada. And it turned out to be one of the greatest stories that ever transpired for us. So I think it's transactional, and I think it's worth it. I really do.
Oh, good answer. Good answer. Brent Martineau, Austen Lane, has joined us from South Florida.
Oh, wow. Where are you at?
He's in fight camp.
Yeah, so I'm by like a Coconut Creek, coach, training at American Top Team.
No, give me a bigger name than that. Well, I don't know where Coconut Creek is.
It's basically like Fort Lauderdale kind of area.
Oh, sweet. So right down the street from you. Are you staying at the Marriott?
Oh no, man! I'm staying at the Airbnb special.
Are you near that place where they have that all that turf outside, and they do outside yoga and outside markets and all that stuff right there on the strip?
I'm a few miles away from that, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
At the end is a Permanis from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Oh, double A, capicola, double egg cheese, coleslaw, tomatoes, fries. Like, it's off the chain. Like, you get a cheat day, right? You get a cheat day, right?
Coach, I'm a heavyweight, man.
Go Permanis, get a cheat day. Tell them Coach D sent you. It's a Pittsburgh joint. Yeah.
Say no more. I got you, Coach.
When's the fight?
So we're going to announce it. Hopefully this weekend they're going to announce it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. But rhymes with Ben Barch. So take that for how you want.
I figured it out. Even slippery rock. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, it rhymes with the Barch part.
Yeah. Well, Ben, I was thinking end. I was thinking end.
In March. Here we go.
Well, I didn't say the word. He said it. What are we doing?
That's not true, though.
We just let it exclusive out. We just let it exclusive.
Well, we should be able to break the dang news.
Yeah, you would think.
I almost swore, but then I would have to do push-ups.
There's some leakers out there that leaked it already, so I think I'm just going to announce it this week.
This Joker does an incredible story on these push-ups we do about no cussing, right? Mm-hmm. But also, if we miss a layup as a coach to start a drill, we have to do push-ups. So I'm doing push-ups, and his guy's getting B-roll, and he's talking about doing push-ups for cussing, and they show me in the B-roll, and I wasn't even cussing. And all these people are like, Coach, you told me you don't cuss. And I'm like, listen, sometimes I do screw up. Sometimes I do cuss. Not whatever, but they're showing me in his story. I'm like, come on, bro. Like, seriously?
Coach,
who's the editor?
It took us 10 years to figure that out, Coach. I mean, the story was the story.
True.
We're making
Coach,
a movie here.
Coach, let me go and ask you this, though, because that's an interesting little tidbit there, because I've told this story before when we had Jack Del Rio on the show. A thing I respect about Jack Del Rio, obviously being a former player and everything, is that he used to run the conditioning with us. And it sounds like, you're kind of involved in terms of doing push-ups and everything. You're in there. You're in the trenches with your players. Is that by design? Do you kind of show them like, hey, we're in this together?
Absolutely.
It can be very easy for you just to sit on the side and say, hey, go do these push-ups, go do these sprints. But
no one's bigger than the program.
Yeah,
that's first and foremost.
Yeah.
And if you have a player-coach team and a staff like we have, I'll give you a good example. The other day when Josiah stole a jump to begin the second half.
Oh, yeah. That was nice.
Well, unbeknownst to me, Coach Perkins went to him, and Coach Kennan brought it up during our meeting yesterday in front of the team, and then I complimented those guys because I show them different stuff, and no one's in there except the players. But Coach went over and reiterated it, so to speak. And so I think nothing's bigger than the program, right? But when you talk about Coach doing that, so we do boot camp. Well, I can't, do whatever. But when we did it at Baylor, I did all the boot camp runs with the team. Jerome, I'm going to tell this story. I'm going to use his name. Jerome Tang at Kansas State said, Drisk, I'm going to do the 2022s because I want to do them with the guys. I said, Coach, it's probably not a good idea because you haven't trained. I'll be fine. No, it's just 2022s. He got hurt, and he couldn't finish them. And the guys were crushing him, Austen. I mean, they were like, oh, don't you ever tell me how tough things, don't you ever, right?
Yeah.
You know what he did, Austen? He came back that night. He brought in 3 players, put one on the clock, one on each baseline, and he did them. And this may have nothing to do with anything, but that's the year we went to the NCAA tournament the first time ever.
It's got everything to do with everything.
I mean, so it resonated. And I told him, like, Coach, I don't think you should do this. And Coach Drew, God love him. He had everything Coach Drew was always trying to work something, right? So I'm running with the guards and I'm making them, whatever. Mm-hmm. Then he says, you know what? You guys are going too fast. Let's move you back to not the baseline, but the 6-foot line.
Yeah.
I look at Coach, I'm like, Coach, what are you doing? He said, Drisk, we need to make it. He's like, we need to be better. I'm like, I said, you know what, Coach? You're right. Forwards, I ran half with them. I'm going to encourage you. I'm going to run with you. So I started running with the forwards from the line. An extra 6 feet. I don't know if I could have made it.
That was a nice pivot by you.
Wow.
That was a good pivot. Hey, I got to ask you, listen, we could talk forever. I don't know when you got to go, but the college basketball in general this year is wild. You mentioned Florida. Florida's good enough maybe to win national championship.
Sure.
But
because they rebound.
I think there are a lot of teams that are capable. Maybe 19 out of 25 top 25 teams lost 2 weeks ago in a week. Is it that deep? Is it that good? Or are we going to have a crazy March?
Well, part of it is they were playing ranked opponents.
They're playing each other, yeah.
So that was part of it. And then secondly, at this stage, because I'm on the voting, at this stage, like things are pretty much, you have a pretty good feel, right? Who's those guys, right? Who those dudes are and who those teams are. And so when you get a team like Utah State, which you don't talk about at all, right. They're 20-2.
Yeah.
Or you get a team like New Mexico that comes around and gets into the tournament. Or you get a Drake who hasn't lost since they lost 2 in a row in the league. And so when you get those kind of people, all of a sudden St. Louis is, up there in the A-10. Basketball is such a beast on a neutral court. And so when you get to the tournament, you get to a neutral court, we talked about sphincter time a little bit earlier, but things change a little bit, right? And so when you get these teams that have the capability, you got to have guards. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
The guards are critical at that stage.
Yep.
But if you rebound the ball, you're always going to have a chance. And that's where a team like Florida, a team like Tennessee, a team like no shameless plug for chess, a team like Auburn. Now they got Broom back, right? And like that was a rock fight. Like we were talking about it, like is it the first of 60 wins?
That's right.
The first of 50 wins? And so I think basketball, much different than football, because in that sport, in my opinion, turnovers flip it so quick. They flip it so quick.
Change everything. Momentum, everything.
Like that.
Yeah.
Like that. And so you look at the national championship game, and then you start, looking at different things, even in the divisional championships last weekend. It just flips it so quick. I think in the weather, you got the outside weather, which didn't come into play with the Chiefs and the Bills. But that outside weather, the wetness, and all of a sudden the ball gets a little loose and a little slippy, and that guy it was the week before, gets hit and fumbles, and he ain't fumbled him whenever.
Yeah.
So I think the basketball, you're right, it's wide open. And I think there's probably, according to that thing in the last 20 years, there's 12 teams that can win it. Week 6, go back to week 6, whoever's in the top 12, one of them teams is going to win it.
Really? I didn't see that.
Yeah, so it's just, there's probably 12 teams that can navigate that 6-game scenario.
Yeah.
But like everything else in life, and Florida's one of them. I mean, and they've been consistent.
They have been.
They've been really, really consistent. And that league is, and that's the other thing too, you get beat up. And I'll tell you something else too, Brent. Austen, you know this. So let's say that it is true what Brent said, March, right? The grind and the mundane and the dog days of what are going to transpire for you before that week or 2 weeks before you fight, because now you get a different mindset, is extremely mentally grueling. And if you don't understand that a dog is DAWG and a disciplined attitude is going to win the games, and you can't navigate that.
That was an acronym, Brent.
I caught that acronym, yes.
This month. If you don't navigate this month, now you get a guy that gets an injury. Now you get a guy that gets a little bit of illness. Now you get some of those things that are starting to creep in. And you start losing 1 and then 2, and now you lose your confidence. And next thing you know, things don't go sideways. So he knows as well as anybody. I'm pointing to the screen, and you're usually wherever. But Austen knows. He's about ready to hit this grind. And it's going to be so mundane. Where's your mental toughness to fight through that, to understand it's greater than this?
Well said.
You're absolutely right.
Well said. Hey, before we let you go, the River City Rumble is tomorrow night, 6 o'clock. Interesting start time, 6 o'clock, not 7 o'clock at Swisher Gymnasium. And it is Friday, tomorrow, Saturday. Yeah, tomorrow night. The cool part about this series, not only because JU and UNF, and obviously the Dolphins are playing really good ball, and they're top the A-Sun. You guys are right there and trying to make this early
won 4 of the
run.
last 6, yeah.
And but it's 2 different venues that make the game totally feel different.
Ooh.
Right? Like, how tough are they to beat in that gym? And their record shows that they are.
Oh, of course.
But it's a high school gym.
Correct.
Right?
Seats about $2,000, I think.
I don't even think it's that many.
Yeah, I think it's 19 and some change.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
And so, but how tough is that place to play, and how different is the vibe of the game, and maybe even kind of how the kids react there versus like when you're playing not just home, but at almost like a normal arena?
So 2010, 9-10, our first year, you remember they were playing downtown.
Oh, yeah.
But not every game. So my first JU game at JU was at JU.
Oh, it was? Okay.
I think we're up 4. And next thing you know, Spider and Ben Smith and like Colbert and those guys, like they just, next thing you know, it's like turnover, score, timeout, blah, blah, blah. We end up losing by whatever, 6 or 7. The students, if you remember, one year we captured our second championship. We had to win that game, and we ended up being the regular season champion.
Yeah, yeah.
They're right there.
They're right behind you.
And they're very, very, very not only loud, but they're very demonstrative as far as how they go about it and what they say. They very rarely cross the line, very rarely. And I'm talking 16 years, like very rarely. Like they're just good students that get after you, which is cool. And so that in and of itself is they're right on top of you.
Yeah.
So I think that side of the court makes things so much different. And then of course you got no runways on both ends.
Nothing.
Now Bellarmine is similar. Okay. North Alabama is similar. And so there are some similar gymnasiums in the league because Bellarmine doesn't play at Freedom Hall anymore. Okay. They play on campus.
And those are newcomers to the league, by the way. So it was really different. They were was like the only one.
Them and Upstate.
Oh, Upstate was
and
like
Upstate,
that, yeah.
Upstate was like you played at East Tennessee. That was their travel partner. They played in a indoor football field. And then you went to it's seated 827, I think. So, but yes, and then we'll get 5,000 at our place.
That's right.
So I've always said it. Florida Georgia is awesome, but I think these two games are the creme de la creme. No disrespect to Gator Bowl, nothing. I'm not being disrespectful. I'm just telling you what I think these two games. And again, the meaning behind them.
Absolutely.
One year we're winning a championship. They're in first place, and we're starting to figure some things out maybe. And so it's really a cool thing for the city. The city's embraced it well.
Absolutely.
And so really, really excited about this next opportunity on Saturday night at 6:00.
We love it. And by the way, it's a big game for JU. They blew a 24-point lead. That does something to your psyche. Huge game for you guys trying to get to 500 and, again, try to find that seeding and everything else. So, I mean, it's a big game for a lot of reasons. But it'll be a fun one tomorrow at 6. It'll be fun for us to watch from the outside.
I'm excited for this announcement.
Oh, well, I feel like we kind of announced it.
No, it's got to be real. He'll do it.
It'll be real soon, Coach. Don't worry.
I think the Groundhog Day thing could be something we could throw in on it.
Give us an idea what you did today before you came on the show.
So today was actually an easier day because we had hard sparring yesterday. So hard sparring yesterday took place actually in like the real small, because I'm gonna be fighting the Apex, right? And it's a smaller cage. It's 25 feet. So yesterday I fought in a 25-foot cage. I do have some cage burn on my face and everything, getting some grappling in. So it was a really strenuous sparring session yesterday. Today was just an hour of just, straight on like the bag work. So coach calls out a combination. We throw the combination for 3 minutes. So it's a sprint, take a minute off, 3 minutes back on, minute off, and you keep going that for the whole hour.
So two things. Number one, does that bode well for you in the sense of your size? And I'm not. Yeah. I'm just asking you a question. Don't ever take anything wrong. I'm never being critical.
Oh no, you're good, Coach. Yeah.
Your size and your age, as you get older, and your conditioning is what it is. We all know that the legs are the first things to go. Correct. Like, does that help being a little bit smaller?
Yeah, so honestly, it's wild, Coach, because when we talk about like the glory days of the UFC with your Brock Lesnar's and everybody, they were trying to make 265, right? Like they were cutting weight. Nowadays, the heavyweights are trying to go more towards a cardio based. So like for me personally, I'm 250 pounds right now. So I'm kind of in that sweet spot, right? I'm not like too light where I'm like 230 and I'm not too heavy to be 265. So what I've been finding out this camp is that I can go 5 rounds easily,
So the smaller cage helps you then.
The smaller cage does help me. And once again, like obviously I can't talk about my opponent. I can't mention
I don't want
he's
you
6'4".
to.
Oh no. So I'm not going to mention that he's probably 6'4" and more of a striker. So I can't say how this short cage is going to be more beneficial, maybe for grappling, get him against the cage. I can't say that. I want to say it. I just can't say it.
When I saw you at the beach that day jogging, when you looked phenomenal, were you 230 at that time?
No, I was about probably 240-ish or so. Yeah. So that was kind of the last time where I was a little lighter, Coach. And now
you look good. You look good.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. So I'm kind of changing up the program a little more and focusing more on sprinting as opposed to those long distance runs.
One of my best friends when I was in college, he wanted to do what you just said. Let's go get 3 minutes on, 1 minute off. Let's use that for cardio and preparation for basketball. Mm-hmm. And so we went down to the Goodwill, and somebody gave in gloves, the whole thing, even mouthpieces. And it was the 80s, so what did we care? We're going to put a mouthpiece in. We didn't care. But it turned into not being a 3 minute, 1 minute. It turned into being, now that we've done this, let's spar. And I'm Mr. Rogers weighs 143 every single day. I'm like, what are we doing? And I'm so unintelligent because I'm competitive. Like I'm going to spar with these two guys, and like it's so different hitting in 3 minute, 1 minute, and in the bag and the combo and all that. Because when you get hit, man, that changes everything.
That's the biggest difference.
It changes everything.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Your heart rate's going to elevate a lot more. Like if you hit in the heavy bag, because the heavy bag doesn't hit back, right? So you can sit there and just hit it as hard as you can for 3 minutes and feel a certain type of way. When you have somebody punching you back, that elevates that heart rate. All of a sudden, you're a little more anxious, and all of a sudden, you're going to gas out a little quicker.
Looks like that Wi-Fi is knocking you out right now at the Airbnb.
Yeah, it's gassing out as well, huh, Brent?
Yeah, but hey, we can hear you loud and clear. You're fine.
Cool.
This is fun conversation. I don't want you to go anywhere just yet. If you got another minute, I want to play a Liam Coen soundbite from last night. I want to get your impressions of him. He's a younger guy, 39 years old, but I think he's hitting a lot of these things as you build. Like, you know how to run a program. The Jags. It's a program, right? You're a CEO.
That's correct.
And I think he's talked about vision, alignment, communication. Forget about the football stuff. Like they can handle that whenever they handle it. But all those other things that I don't know if we've been as, there's too much gray area in my opinion in Jacksonville. It's like, this is the way we do it. And like you guys, this is what we do, right? Yeah. There's no gray area in your program.
No.
And I think it's something I've probably learned in the last few years, just about watching the Jags so close. It's like there's too much gray area. And I don't know if that's a current player thing. I don't think players want that, quite frankly. I think they want to know where the line is and how do you get to the line and how do you deliver. But I really thought publicly, like Doug Peterson on the microphone, a lot of gray area. My guess is behind the closed doors, more gray area. I think this guy's come in and done a really good job of saying, this is who we are. Now, this is the first week. We got to see if he delivers on it.
Sure.
But you got to show them what you're doing, right? I mean, you got to tell everybody what you're doing, what we're all about.
Isn't that what great speakers do? Tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them.
Exactly. Well, let's hear one of these sound bites to get. I want to get your reaction to it. Let's see. Which one was the best one here that you would like?
Do the one you think your people would like the best.
I think talking about the best players, right? You say it because you just said it on the show.
Okay.
Players, not plays. And he really preaches that now. So let's go there, Jason.
But when what you mentioned about the players over plays, it's been a mentality that, like I mentioned, has been instilled in me in a young age. And if you can go to bed every night, looking yourself in the mirror as a coach, knowing that you got Brian Thomas Jr. you got 10 targets, you got Etienne at least 20 carries, you got Big Tank 20 carries, you're getting these guys in the game and in a flow, and you can sleep good at night knowing that you got your ball to the best player as many times as possible. We'll see what happens.
So I really think, first of all, what he did a really good job of is he talked about the people that the people want to talk about, especially Brian Thomas.
Absolutely.
And he never mentioned Trevor in that bite.
Yeah.
And I think that's good because I think he's his own deal, right? But Brian Thomas, because the draft's coming up. So are we going to try to find another? They're going to trade all that for all that stuff. The second thing he said, we always have talked about it, and I think since we were kids, we've always known this. There's only one person that'll never lie to you, Austen. Who's that?
Yourself?
The person in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
You'll try. Mm-hmm. You'll try to. You know what? But you'll try. You'll try, and at the end, you're going to say to yourself, "Who am I fooling?" At the end of the day, this is what we got to do. This is we've always said, do what you do, be who you are, let the chips fall where they may, and that's what's going to happen. And what he's saying is, I can go to sleep at night knowing that we did all these different things and we're doing them the right way, and you got to have the right players, obviously. And I think that's the frustration for the coaches is when people try to do things outside their box. Or they try to be spectacular, or they want to be the hero. We talk about that all the time. Here's the way we say it. And again, this is just how we say it. Alex Rodriguez, awesome. He's going to hit a home run and strike out 6 times and hit a home run and strike out. Derek Jeter, single double, single double, single double, triple, single double, single double, single double, home run, single double, single double, single double, triple. That's what we need. Because when you have consistency that's committed, everything else will take care of itself because the discipline's in place. And so I think that's what he's saying. I would also say this as we walk away from this segment. I'm really hurting for him. And I really feel for him. Because I think someone did a poor job of not helping him understand what our cry sounds like, or what that particular let's go is like. And I feel really bad for him that he's being made a mockery amongst the national audiences. And people always like, because, like people like to make fun of and like, to do certain things. You can always judge someone's character the way they act, right, to the people that can do nothing to them, right? And so, like, I just feel bad that people are making a mockery in the sense that someone should have prepped them a whole lot better. Someone should have practiced it with them a whole lot better. And I don't know if he did it on purpose, because sometimes they say bad news is also a great branding and a great blessing too, because now people are clicking and looking and reading, and all of a sudden maybe he turns the corner. We got more people that are like, okay, you know what I mean? So I just feel for him in the sense that I wish it would have went differently for him. And I think he'll correct it. I think they're going to do something to help correct that and kind of and make a good out of it.
Yeah, we've been talking about it, and Austin, you jump in here, but I still don't. I think he wasn't trying to actually do it in the moment. Like, I think he was playing off it in the middle of a speech, not necessarily, hey, let's end this with a let's go, Duval, right? Like, that's not where it was. Just a little bit, and he had already done it earlier, so he knows how to do it. That's my point. That's why I say that, because he had done it earlier in the day. Remember, Austin, we were on the show, and we saw him do that with the staff. So, but Coach, hey, that's just the way we're living in right now. And you almost, Coach can feel bad about it. You got to just make sure you block that out and it doesn't matter to you, right?
Well, and I think he's done that because listen to him.
Yeah, he's got that.
And they put him right back out there, which is the best thing. Throw him back on the bike.
Yeah.
Like, don't go hide in the corner and be like, I gotta wait. But to his credit, we got a sound bite.
No, we're good. Austin, jump in on here. Go ahead,
Coach. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up a little bit, because I mean, you're a guy who knows about the emotion of sports, right? Who is genuine when it comes to that. And I think the cool thing about shouting Duval, and I've done it many times, before a fight, if I'm at a weigh-in, like I do it proudly because I'm considered a part of the whole 100%. Duval community. But I think it's one of the very few chants that you hear it and there is emotion involved, right? We talk about like Green Bay, their old chant is go Pack go. If you go to a Packers game, people are going to say it, but it's not necessarily like, heart and tears into it. It's just go Pack go. It's just kind of a slogan that people say, but like people aren't really emotionally invested into it. People are emotionally invested in that Duval chant because number one, it's where you're from, but number two, it's almost like it's all attitude. It's a mindset. And I think, unfortunately, when Coach Coen said that one that's getting all the, the hate and all the circles on social media, I don't want to say he was making a mockery of it because that wasn't his intention.
No.
But that's how people are taking it, right? And that's the social media, and that's how we live in, right? People are going to interpret something somewhere, take one soundbite, and that's it. That's all you have to go off of Coach Coen now. And it's not fair, but it's just the way that it is.
Here's a cool story, Brent. Let's leave on this. Here's a cool story, Austin. Carrie's getting her master's. And so last night she came in and said, hey, can you guys just give me some insight as to some things that people do at games? Take me out to the ball game.
Yeah.
If you hear that song, it's Chicago Cubs and right, all that kind of good stuff, right? Baseball, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so Sweet Caroline, right? All that kind of stuff. I told her, I said, sweetie, I'm going to tell you something cool. Let me Google it for you and show it to you. Right. So Jump Around, Wisconsin. Right. Yeah. But did you see the Oregon story?
Yes.
Love that one. Dan Lanning.
Yeah.
Did you see? Isn't that a great story?
That was amazing.
But again, it goes back to what you said. I saw that, yeah. Like, he turned it into like this is going to be our, like, we ain't going in there. They ain't hyping them up. And so all we can practice, every time he told the dude to turn it on, they had to stop. And that whatever drill they were doing, and they had to jump around. And then you saw them on the sideline during the game. That's right. Of course, they whooped them.
It's the Eminem 8 Mile stuff where you jump ahead of the other guy and use what his tactic is against you, and you plan for it intentionally.
Well, you know what? NF has got the Eminem now, and he's the guy that's kind of flipping Eminem, so that's a good Eminem. I like that, but that NF's my guy. But go ahead.
What I was going to say, too, just because when that happened, because I have a bunch of friends in Wisconsin who are Badgers fans, we're on the group text saying like, what is Oregon doing? Like, you guys are embarrassing yourselves. Like, that's not your thing. And in the fourth quarter, it was a close game. In that fourth quarter, they come out and they were playing possessed in Oregon. It was almost like physically, and keep in mind, it's Wisconsin, right? So usually they dominate the line of scrimmage, they dominate the trenches, and Oregon had their number in the fourth quarter. So they
were down like 21 to 15 or something.
And we're just like, what the heck was that? And then they post that video the next day of the jump around thing, and it's like, oh, okay, we kind of had a little epiphany.
But isn't that kind of cool, though?
It was a masterclass.
He kind of took this like, hey, guys, we're going to see this. This is new for us. We're not in this league. We're a West Coast team. And, you know, and you got your, what's my man's name from Fox, the great voice? The great voice that does all the Fox football.
Gus?
Oh, yeah, Gus.
Oh,
you know, Gus is up there. You know, he up there. You know, he's jumping around. You know, so, but anyways, I don't know if Carrie used it or not, but
well, you gave it to her. All right, hey, we got to get you out here. Good luck tomorrow night. River City Rumble, 6 o'clock. It's at Jacksonville University. Not a lot of seats over there now. Get your tickets if you want to be there. It would be a fun atmosphere. Already sold out?
I think it is.
Okay. Check it out anyway, either way. And then we got another edition coming up later in the basketball season at UNF Arena. Hey,
and then you got Wale and Little Yachty on Saturday.
Hey, Hamby, do me a favor. Play that autograph video again. Because this is what I really like about Coen. Like, I don't think he cares about the Duval stuff, what other people say and all that stuff. He's got swagger to him. And watch just the way he's, you know, this is the guy you want to bring to the Y or that hoops game at night, like at the playground. Because he's going to, like, they're going to be like, who is this dude? And then he's going to go drop 35 on you. Just watch the way he catches the football, the pen, flips it back. Like,
so I learned a lot from Tommy Bowden, you know, going on those zip tape trips, and nobody cared about my autograph. And I watched him sign everything and the way in which he did it and how intentional he was and spell your name and do all this stuff. And I think, you know, Coach Bowden had a lot of the same deal. I love the fact that he's so engaged right now and he's not afraid to, I don't care how many things I'm signing, let me just help you guys understand what we're trying to do here. And I think Shad should really look at that as well, too. And really say, you know what, this is the engagement that we have to have, and this has to continue no matter what the ebbs and flows look like. No matter what, we've got to stay the course with this.
Yeah.
Stay the course with this. Remember we said this on your show. Stay the course with this.
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to win at the end of the day.
Hey, Austin, by the way, this dude is probably beating people in ping pong, darts,
pickleball,
pool, like all that stuff. You're bringing this guy, and we're rolling.
Yeah.
He ain't beating Austin in a 20-foot,
25-foot
apex. Let me tell you that.
Brent, I just can't believe that you gave props to an offensive coordinator for catching a football. But hey, that's all good though.
Yeah, it's more just that you got to look at. You got to have some swag to you, man. He's got it. I like it. Especially as an offensive guy. All right, hey, you guys are going to roll through the rest of this thing. And Austen Lane and Jason Hamby got more with the Liam Coen stuff from last night. And we'll catch you up on everything else heading into the weekend. Brent and Austin Show on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 Network. Thanks, Matthew Driscoll, for hanging out with us. Burgers or breakfast, you can get it all at Whataburger. Try something new on the menu or an all-time favorite like the Whataburger Patty Melt. And now you can have breakfast here at Whataburger 12 hours a day, 11 p.m. until 11 a.m. Menu items like the bacon taquito, sausage taquito, honey butter chicken biscuit. Whether you work the late night shift, just want a snack early in the morning to get your day started, or a little pick-me-up late in the morning, 12 hours a day, breakfast served, 11 p.m. until 11 a.m. A dozen locations in Jacksonville. You can order pickup or delivery and download the Whataburger app. New rewards members get free Whataburger items when placing their first online order. Just download the app. And for us coffee drinkers, Whataburger has all new hot coffee and iced coffee too. Satisfy that coffee craving at Whataburger 24/7, and it comes in a variety of flavors. Burgers, breakfast, coffee, and so much more. Whataburger, just like you like it.
People helping people. It's at the core of what Alive Credit Union is all about, and it's been that way for over 70 years. From the start in 1954 to today, the mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. I had a chance to see that commitment firsthand as Alive partnered with our Action Sports Jacks 24/7 team to bring you Armada men's and women's soccer broadcasts. Inside the 18, it is a shot, and it's a goal! Chloe Chivers! And that connection to the community continues with Alive Credit Union's support of the Police Athletic League of Jacksonville. Alive Credit Union's commitment to our community also involves serving the financial needs of all first responders through the recent merger partnership with City and Police Federal Credit Union. Join the community and become a member of Alive Credit Union today. Find out the many ways you can be inspired in financial wellness at alivecu.coop.
I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning, and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter. Right now, save $1,000 or more when you bundle a Connecticut Premier Softener with a Connecticut K5 drinking water system. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Ask about our 90-day love it or leave it guarantee. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579. Baker Sports is local sports. Uniforms from Pop Warner and Little League to travel ball, high school, and college. They make you look good. They help you play good. Baker Sports has been helping families make memories that will last a lifetime with their Baker's Buckets. We've got a lot of these filled with baseballs and softballs in the garage. I've been throwing batting practice to Ty and Kaylee for years and also sit on the Baker's Bucket, catching Kaylee while she practices her pitching. Baker Sports is homegrown, and a lot of employees that used to play on local ball fields now work for Baker Sports, now helping you look good, play good, and make memories of your own. Visit Bakersport.com to see what Baker Sports can do for you. Custom apparel, Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, embroidery, screen printing, and more. Baker Sports is local sports from Jacksonville to anywhere in the Southeast. Bakersport.com. When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway or shop online at nimnickbuickgmc.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness, and most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick. GMC. We are professional grade.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show on a Friday. We're taking a look at the NFL draft order. Is it too early to start your mocks? I say no. You may have your own
it's
opinion.
Shock your mock season, Hamby. Let's go.
Almost. Not yet, but obviously we got the Jags coming in at number 5, and we're already going back and forth with at least what position we would like them to take. At the very least, some people, myself included, may have already been getting into exactly which player. But when do you really want to lock down? I mean, Austen, before we get, we're going to get to a Coen soundbite of what he said about the number 5 draft pick. It's got a lot of people talking this morning and last night. But before we get there, we got to hire a GM, right?
Yes.
So the one of the bigger questions is how much control is Liam Coen going to have over the draft, right? Free agency. Obviously, he's going to have full input in all these things, but are those kind of conversations exactly the conversations that are going to be had when he, Baselli, Shad are interviewing GMs, right? Of how much it's going to be GM led, how much input, what if they disagree, the hierarchy, those have to be the conversations, right?
No, without a doubt, Hamby. And here's what's going on right now in that building. And this is why, and I think he kind of started his own introductory press conference with this, and that's why it's so important. This is where communication has to come into play here, because Liam Coen knows what he's looking for, right? Like, he's starting to watch film now. He's starting to meet with these players, and he's starting to get a feel for, okay, we can work with this guy. This guy might be on the bubble a little bit, right? So he knows what types of players that he's looking for. The problem is that the past GM with Trent Baalke's staff, who is still there doing their due diligence, they might have been looking for a different type of guy, right? Maybe a guy that Trent Baalke liked, maybe a guy that, will fit more of a Doug Peterson role. So like their scouting reports are predicated more off of what Trent Baalke was looking for.
Sure.
They need to tailor those scouting reports now, and they need to communicate, with Coach Liam Coen now and saying, hey, this is what I'm looking for. What can you give me? And then it's the scout's job. It's it's the whatever you want to talk, the fill-in GM's job to go, okay, we kind of hear what you're saying. We think these guys could be some great pieces for us.
Yeah, I'm with that. I just don't know. And we're going to get to the soundbite, but it seems like, yes, you want to be able to bring a guy in who's going to be, but aligned with you. And obviously, this is a lot. This is about so much more than just this first round pick. There's this years and philosophy plays a much bigger role. I just wonder if individual names, as in Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, Ted McMillan, Mason Graham, all these guys are being mentioned in those first conversations with GMs, where Shad or Liam is saying, hey, if you have the number five pick, based off of our roster construction right now, who would you take? And they almost go back and forth off of that to see if there's, even natural alignment on that one specific, because it's a big decision, before there has to be not necessarily forced alignment, but saying, okay, you see what I'm saying? Where it's like, oh my gosh, that's a perfect match. This is exactly the way we want to go, and kind of going from there.
Yeah, I mean, I think the beauty of where the Jaguars are sitting right now and what they need, they need a few things, right? Interior defense. Maybe you can talk about offensive linemen. You can talk about a cornerback. You can talk about a wide receiver. Well, where they're sitting right now is, if they were to trade back and get some more pieces, I wouldn't be opposed to that, right? But if your guy is there, whether it's Graham's that dude from Michigan everyone's talking about, right? The defensive tackle. You got that pass rusher from Penn State, where I get maybe pass rusher isn't the biggest need, but he might be the best player in the entire draft. So then do you go with that route? Do you go with a wide receiver? There's a lot of options there. And once again, who's to stop you from trading back and maybe getting some more draft capital and getting some more great players as well?
All right, so let's get into this. Here's Liam Coen last night at the Coen's first Duval on the number 5 draft pick.
One more question. We'll get it done tonight. This is from Anonymous. Given that you're an offensive-minded coach, what is your plan for the 5th pick in the draft?
Hey. Well, I'd like to hear some suggestions real fast. Hey, at the end of the day, man, we want to play physical defense. We want to play physical brand of football. We want to play good defense. We want to be fundamentally sound on special teams, but we better go light that scoreboard up on offense.
And man, are Jags fans running with that one this morning?
You should.
I mean, the majority of the answer was about being tough in the trenches.
Well, it was on defense too. Listen, you know how I feel about this, and some people can say it's not a big deal, but here's how I look at it. Anytime a player or anytime a coach mentions players, pay attention to the order. Anytime a coach mentions positions, pay attention to the order. All right. He mentioned defense first. He mentioned being tough in the trenches first. And this is an offensive-minded guy here. This is an offensive coordinator, a former offensive coordinator, head coach now. And he mentioned the defense first. I'm going to buy into that a little bit.
I'm buying it as well.
Yeah.
When I first heard it, I was like, "Wow, I've been vouching for Mason Graham. It sounds like we could, that's a very viable option." However, I've seen the quotes followed by the highlight tape of T-Mac from Arizona multiple times already this morning.
No, for sure. But also keep in mind too, Hamby, the defensive coordinator that the Jaguars just got,
right?
He's got Michigan ties as well. So maybe he's got the inside track into who Mason Graham is, if that's truly going to be the pick.
Yeah. This goes back to what I was saying a couple of days ago is like being that you are, if you're from Coen's perspective, you're the offensive mind because of your confidence and ego. And when I say ego, I'm not in a bad way because no, all head coaches have ego. It's a good thing to some extent, right? We'll take this from the good way. Because of his confidence and ego, he's going to look at the Jaguars roster as it stands right now and be more apt to say, I can make this work as it stands. And so because I believe I can make it work as it stands, I'm willing to let the extra resources go to the defense right now. Right? I have so much confidence that I can make Trevor Lawrence and BTJ and, he hasn't mentioned Evan Ingram by name, but we'll just say ETN Bigsby. I can make those guys work. I don't need more to make that work because I believe in these guys and what I'm going to bring to them. It would be nice, but I don't need it right off the bat, right?
Yeah,
and because of that, I'll let the defense, which I don't have as much to do with, take that stamp, take that extra resource that the number 5 pick in the draft is, so they can improve.
Yeah, keep in mind though, Hamby, he is an offensive-minded guy, but he's a head coach first, and he has to do what's best for this team. And I think we can look here and say, you know what? Last year, the team underachieved, but we did see some things from the offense that maybe we liked a little bit. We did like Brian Thomas Jr. We saw glimpses of Trevor Lawrence before he got hurt and everything. You saw glimpses of a running game that could be decent to dominant if you have the offensive line to go with that. But what else did we see on defense? We saw an interior defensive line that kind of got gashed in the run game a little bit. We saw a secondary that got picked on. So, I don't think it's about Liam Coen saying, hey, I'm confident in my abilities, looking at our offense and saying, I can work with this. Like, yeah, you kind of have to. But I think it's Liam Coen being a head coach and saying, guys, we got to change things on defense because it doesn't matter who the defensive coordinator is. We may need more talent in here to be more successful.
Let me ask you this. If you had to say right now, would the Jaguars make an addition at the receiver position, whether through free agency or through the top 2 picks in the draft? I'll give you the second round as a buffer. Mm-hmm. So whether for the first pick of the draft, the second pick of the draft, or through free agency, will they make an addition to the receiver room?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I think so.
Is that because Liam Coen wants to get a guy that's his guy, or the GM is going to want to have their guy, or simply because they believe that's what's needed to light up the scoreboard and be the offense that they know they can be?
I think that if you look at how the NFL works now, Hamby, having just that go-to guy isn't good enough anymore, right? If we look at the dominant teams now in the NFL, the dominant offenses, even when Tampa Bay, and I get it, like they may not have been household names, but they used a lot of those receivers and K-Dot as well. You need a 1A and a 1B. We talk about this all the time. You need the Devontae Smith to the A.J. Brown. You need the Jordan Addison to the Justin Jefferson. You need the Puka Nacua, or actually it's kind of Cooper Kupp's kind of the 1B now, but you need the Cooper Kupp to the Puka Nacua. So I get it. You have a guy in Christian Kirk who has done a lot of great things here, but injury history and everything makes you a little nervous, makes you a little hesitant. You have a guy in Gabe Davis who by all accounts, didn't really show us a lot last year, and it's hard to get motivated with him coming back. So yes, I do think they do address the wide receiver position because Liam Coen knows what this is, right? He understands that, yeah, you may have something special with Trevor Lawrence, but you got to keep reloading. You got to keep giving him weapons. So to answer the question, I do think they address wide receiver, whether it's the first 2 rounds of the draft, it'll probably be the second round or in free agency.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I don't think anybody would necessarily be opposed. I think other needs obviously are there. I would love to see them Coen do the exact same thing he did last year in Tampa Bay. And obviously he's not doing it because he's not making the draft pick as the offensive coordinator, but I'm sure he had say. And that being taking Jalen McMillan in the 3rd round, right? Where take away Brian Thomas Jr., the narrative was going into for the Jaguars, bulky or no bulky, was that they have not had a receiver other than really Allen Robinson that they've taken early workout in a long, long time. That was the narrative.
Yeah.
Going back to the Laviska Chenaults and all of these guys and Marquise Lee and fill in the blank. None of these guys panned out.
Blackman would have panned out, but obviously had the off the field issues.
Of course.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Right. So that was the narrative going into last year. And that was almost like one of the reasons we didn't think they were going to take Brian Thomas Jr. in the 1st round. Also, this was bulky specific. It was like, that's just not what he does. Right.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward to this year. Do we need another guy? Last year, you probably would have said that Tampa Bay doesn't need another guy. They have Chris Godwin. They have Mike Evans. They have Cade Otton, right? Well, they say, okay, we're not going to make it that big of a priority to make it our 1st or 2nd round draft pick, but we still want to make an addition to the room, right? They go and get Jalen McMillan, and guess what? He's got 8 touchdowns on the year, and Coen makes him into a number 2 receiver. Now, it's not, again, whatever, we're digging deep because there are a lot of people that have, that deserve credit for McMillan playing as well as he did. It's not just Coen. There are 20 different guys that, including Baker Mayfield and McMillan himself, obviously, that goes into that. But if you were to be able to take a 3rd round pick, right, and develop and get him into being a viable target for Trevor Lawrence, where you're making a big addition to the room, the receiver room, without sacrificing a pick or a lot of money that you could use for a bigger need, I would just think that, that's a home run. That is an absolute home run, because if you were to rank position needs for the Jacksonville Jaguars right now, receiver would not be at the top. Do I have more belief in Christian Kirk than most people? Probably. Do I have more belief that Gabe Davis isn't that bad when he's fully healthy, he's fully enveloped into the offense, that he might not be the guy who played for the Bills and caught a touchdown in every playoff game, and that we probably had higher expectations than even he deserved, which is why we were let down and disappointed as much as we were. I have more belief in him, and I have some belief in Parker Washington that he can be a viable guy. Like, receiver is not that big of a position of need. However, to your point, compared to the rest of the league, the trend of the league of having multiple go-to guys, not just viable guys, but go-to guys, I see where, holy cow, let's go get T-Mac at 5. Let's go get Luther Burton. We'll trade back and take him, or take Travis Hunter. I get it. I just don't think it's that big of a position need.
No, you have to get it, right? Especially being an offensive-minded coach. And I think, and I don't have the stats in front of me, obviously, but if you look back at the past couple of years, I feel like in terms of positions that get drafted, wide receivers can come in right away and make an immediate impact. There's some positions, whether it can be interior defensive line, whether it can be linebacker, whether it can be in the secondary, where you draft these guys high for a 2nd round, and sometimes it takes them a little while to acclimate. It takes them a little while to earn their keep in terms of where you drafted them. I think wide receiver now is a position where you can draft a guy out of college, put him in the starting lineup, and he can make a difference for you right away. And this is why I was such a big proponent of Brian Thomas Jr. going into the preseason last year, simply because while you had guys like Malik Neighbors, while you had guys like Marvin Harrison Jr., there was really no pressure on Brian Thomas Jr. to be that true number one receiver because, well, you had Christian Kirk, you had Evan Ingram, you had a run game. At least we thought we had all these things, and whatever happened, happened. But the pressure was off Brian Thomas Jr. because you had other pieces, other targets to go with. Well, some of those guys get hurt and everything. All of a sudden, he becomes the guy, and guess what? He lives up to expectations when he had to become the guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it shows you that, you know, there's certain positions out there, Hamby, where if you draft them high, you can get a return on your investment. And sometimes that's what the draft is all about. And sometimes that's what it's all about in terms of trying to turn a team around who's underachieved maybe the last season. You want to get those immediate impact players. And those immediate impact players can come from the wide receiver position.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, immediate impact players from the wide receiver position, that's the definition of Brian Thomas Jr. We talked a lot about him yesterday. If you want to go back and listen to that, the podcast at any time, on our YouTube channel at any time, actionsportsjacks.com. We also talked about how much the Pro Bowl needs to be canceled. And our number one guy who made an immediate impact is at the Pro Bowl, Brian Thomas Jr., alongside Logan Cook and Ross Matisic. Obviously, they played a little dodgeball last night. It was a marquee matchup. Probably beat the AFC Championship in ratings at 50-something million. We'll see. We're waiting on that to come out. But the flag football game is at 3 o'clock Sunday. We're going to take another quick timeout here on the Brent and Austen Show. When we come back, Austin's thoughts on the new Jaguars defensive coordinator. Right back on a Friday on the Brent and Austen Show on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network.
When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway or shop online at NimnickBuickGMC.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness, and most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick GMC. We are professional grade. Happy New Year for the UNF Ospreys, and basketball season is in the teeth of conference play right now. A slow start for the men's team out of the gates with 3 straight losses, but then they broke through in the win column with a win over Bellarmine. The offense scored 98 points in that one. A long way to go, including a stretch the next few weeks with a chance to go on a winning streak. 8 home games in the next 3 weeks for the men's and women's basketball team combined. So check out UNFOspreys.com for the latest in news, schedules, results, and tickets. UNF Arena is a great place to watch a game, so go check them out. And while the hoop teams are battling some snow while on the road, the spring sports season has already arrived with the men's tennis program notching its first win under new coach John Collins. Swoop with the Ospreys in the winter and the spring, inside and outside. Check out UNFOspreys.com for all things Ospreys. I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning, and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter. Right now, save $1,000 or more when you bundle a Connecticut Premier Softener with a Connecticut K5 drinking water system. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Ask about our 90-day love it or leave it guarantee. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
When it comes to trucks, I know exactly what I want. And at Bozard Ford, they make it easy to get exactly that. Let's go make this truck a little more my style. With Bozard Built, I can create my perfect truck right here. Lift kit? Check. Premium wheels? You bet. Advanced lighting package? Oh yeah. The Bozard team works their magic. From bumper to tailgate, I'm making this truck mine. It's everything that I wanted and more. From the field to the gym to weekend adventures. This truck's built for my journey. Bozard built. Customized for your lifestyle, built to exceed your expectations. Check out the inventory and available options at bozardbuilt.com. Unleash your dream ride. Customized, covered, and Bozard approved.
New to town or always been in town? Everyone is always looking for a good pizza place. Our place is Donato's Pizza. We love it and still do love it. When I tell my family I'm coming to Donato's, they say, wait a minute, you got to order some for us. So this is not all for me. Let me tell you what the Martineaus get when we put an order in. Well, pepperoni pizza, we usually get more than one of these. And then here's the works, a little bit of everything. And then this is the pizza that can be polarizing for some out there. I don't know why. Hawaiian pizza, some love it, some don't. At Donato's, you're gonna love it, especially with that cinnamon sprinkled on top. Try the pizza my family likes or try your favorite. Right now, you can use the code BRENT20 and get 20% off your order. Every viewer and listener is important to us, and at Donato's Pizza, every piece is important. From fresh ingredients to the dedicated team members and you, the valued customer. Donato's Pizza, where every piece comes together for a winning combination. Jack's Beach and Mandarin locations, Donato's Pizza, every piece is important.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Anthony Campanile is the guy, the new leader of the Jaguars defense, making that hire official. The Jaguars did last night, and another this time this morning. We get it back to Austen Lane. It's actually a great edit the Jaguars did, already putting him in Jagsier right there. I think, look, we talked about it at the beginning of the show today. You're going to want to temper your excitement because we've been through this last year. A lot of the reasons that guys like this guy are some of the same reasons that we liked Nielsen last year. At the same time, I just realized I kind of look like this guy. Do I kind of look like this guy a little bit?
But you're all no.
We got the same hair.
No, you know who he looks like, and I see it. I've been seeing the rounds. That one comedian, and I can't think of the guy's name. Everyone's been posting pictures of him.
Oh,
he just hosted
Bargatze?
SNL. Yes.
Yeah, Nate
Bargatze. Or is it
Nate.
Dan Bargatze? Yeah, Nate. Whatever. Yeah,
no problem.
Looks just like him.
I've already seen at least 15 Tony Soprano mentions on my Twitter timeline.
He's got that Italian background, man. He's got like 4 or 5 brothers that got some pretty aggressive names. Like, I'm all for it, man. Like, yeah.
I'm in. Well, look, the biggest thing to me that I saw, there was a bunch of them this morning. One of the most encouraging things was that the 49ers were really interested in him had they not been able to get Saleh back. Again, this is a lot of the same situation or narrative with Coen as far as we want the guy that you get, you want him to be coveted by other teams, right? Common sense. Okay. If this is a guy that nobody was looking at, nobody was even interviewing or potentially eyeing, that's one thing. But for the 49ers to have been, obviously that's a report that he probably would have been the guy or could have been the guy, or they were looking at him if Saleh, fell through. That's encouraging. Your first thoughts, Anthony Campanile, new Jaguars defensive coordinator.
Yeah, here you said it. To start the thing off with, right? I'm gonna temper expectations until I see it, because the last time I got excited about them bringing what seemed like a motivator in, kind of an old school way of thinking kind of guy in, it blew up in my face, right? I thought Ryan Nielsen was gonna be like the next great head coach, and now Ryan Nielsen's an afterthought. I will say this about what I know, because obviously he comes from Green Bay a little bit, what I've heard, and what some possibilities could be. So what I know is that this guy is definitely an old school way of like an old school philosophy.
Okay.
Reminds me a little bit of Joe Cullen. He was a linebackers coach in Green Bay. But by the way, what a surprise, Hamby. It's not like we broke down the whole linebacking coaches becoming defensive coordinators. Maybe that was some breadcrumbs. Maybe that was just luck that we talked about it, is what it is, though. So he was a linebacking coach in Green Bay. And what I do know what that is, he got some of the best play out of his linebackers this past year at Green Bay. Now, in totality, some guys in the secondary, some guys on the edge, maybe didn't play up to their best abilities, and Packer fans will be the first ones to tell you that. But when it comes to that linebacking core, they exceeded expectations. They dominated. And in terms of him being the run game coordinator, they did a great job as well. So the resume last year, in terms of what his job was, what he was expected to do, is fantastic. Now, he's going to be a first-year, defensive coordinator. Can he hit the ground running? Can he motivate the players? Can he call the right schemes? That remains to be seen. But what we know off of what he did in Green Bay, he did a fantastic job, and they're probably set to losing him a little bit. Now, what it could mean. Obviously, it's going to mean, hopefully an attacking style defense, hopefully a defense that's going to pin their ears back and go. But once again, I feel like I'm kind of repeating myself from last year with Ryan Nielsen. I look at it as another way. And I look at where he comes from, what the connections are. Could he possibly bring anybody over from Green Bay in terms of a player, right? And a player that you might want to keep your eyes on, and I'm going to say the name, and you're probably going to roll your eyes because he's going to command a lot of money. But at the same time, I think Green Bay could just let this dude go because it seems like this guy's kind of on the outs with Green Bay, and I don't think Green Bay really wants this guy there either, is Jair Alexander.
Yep.
Could Jair Alexander be a possibility of coming to Jacksonville, maybe being that, I don't know if it'd be the one or the two corner, but basically if you have him and Tyson Campbell there, and once again, he's got to be healthy, right? He's got to have the mindset, all this stuff, and there are some question marks with that. But if you do get a healthy Jair Alexander, you might have something there. Now, all of a sudden, the draft gets a little more interesting. You don't got to address the cornerback position anymore. You got two bona fide corners when healthy on your team. So I wonder if they look at that direction because it seems like Green Bay is kind of on the back burner now for Alexander.
Man, that would be something if we were to get a guy like that. And I wonder how much how much money he would truly command given the injury history. I tweeted out this morning, Javon Holland, who's an upcoming unrestricted free agent at the safety position, highly coveted guy. He kind of Instagram version of retweeted it on his Instagram story, the breaking news that Camp got the job, and he said one of the best in the business, right? Okay, obviously that means nothing except for the fact that I'm already going to pencil in Javon Holland as one of our free agent signings this offseason. But again, you had guys like Cam Jordan singing Nielsen's praises last year when from Nielsen's time in New Orleans with him with the Saints. I'm trying to, find the balance in the averages, but at the same time, is an unrestricted free agency at arguably our biggest position of need. Yeah, throwing the support behind a guy. We got the money to do it.
Do you think that was the biggest mistake? Was like buying into what Cam Jordan said, because Cam Jordan is traditionally a big defensive end. And maybe they saw Eric Armstead and said, hey, Eric Armstead could be the next Cam Jordan. Let's try to put him in that role. Like,
they're not the same player.
No, I understand, but I'm still trying to justify number one, was it Balky or Ryan Nielsen? Doesn't really matter, but I'm trying to justify why the hell we had Eric Armstead playing defensive end when everybody knew, including myself, that probably wasn't the best idea.
You have a better shot of trying to comprehend with your human brain how long eternity is than you do trying to figure out why Eric Armstead was playing on the edge.
No, for sure.
But nonetheless, so we got the guy. Reasonable expectations for him, because the other component of this is obviously, since Liam Coen's the head coach, offensive mind, that a lot of responsibility is going to be on Camp to not only improve players, but also be the commander of the defense. So reasonable expectations. I don't know whether you want to give me like rankings in the NFL or just more so attitude. But what do you see as far as reasonable expectations?
So I think this signing, because I probably wanted Graham, to be honest, just because he had the experience, right? And he had a little more of a resume. But I think this goes back to what Coen said at his introductory press conference, where it's about communication. This is a guy that I don't think he's ever worked with before, but they come from the same tree. They have a lot of people in common that they probably know that he's comfortable with working with. I never got the sense, despite of how we felt about Nielsen when we first came in, I never got the sense that him and Doug Peterson were really on the same page. And we saw that come to a head, halfway through the season when Doug just, it was kind of like the defense is doing their thing over there and the offense is doing their thing over there. Liam Coen has preached a lot about complementary football, and I'm hoping that we're going to see that this season. So what is that going to mean for the defense? It's going to mean if you have an offense that can run the ball, that can sustain long drives, that's going to make it easier on your defense. So, I mean, I'm not going to name a prediction like top 10 defense. Like, no, I'm not going to go that crazy, but it's not out of the realm of the possibility, I feel like, where you could talk about if you're playing complementary football and you got a pretty good offense, maybe a top 15 defense.
Man, that would be nice. And that's the thing that's the thing where even Liam Coen aside, as we're about to wrap things up here with a minute to go, if you just get the defense back to average what it was, then how many more wins was that? Would that have been this year? If they were just average, if they just maintained and didn't do anything crazy, how many more wins would you have had? And I think the answer is quite a few.
One quick thing, Hamby, too, I want to address. The whole coaching thing, and this is why Twitter's driving me crazy, and I've been off it. So Tampa Bay blocks the offensive line coach from getting an interview with Jacksonville.
Right.
And Jaguars fans seem all type of way about it. How can you block a guy from trying to get more money, well, first of all, it's in the rules because it's not for a coordinator. So they can do that. But here's the thing. Hamby, you weren't here, but years ago, I went on a giant rant talking about how I feel like the franchise tag is wrong and it's bad and we shouldn't do it. And everyone in Jacksonville said, well, that's just the way of doing business. That's the loophole, right? Like, you can say you don't like it, but that's the rule. How is this any different than a franchise tag?
I mean, yeah.
Okay, so Jags fans, I get it. Like, it looks bad in Tampa Bay. They're just using a franchise tag, okay? They just found a loophole. So, like, let's keep things within expectations here a little bit. Like, sure, you want to grill the Buccaneers organization for making fun of Liam Coen, go at it. Don't fault the franchise for following their rules and not allowing one of their guys who's going to have a steadfast role where it's not like he's getting maybe a little bit of an upgrade, but he's not going to be a coordinator, so they have the right to block it. Like, there's a lot of things to be mad at. Let's not be mad at that, please. It's just like the franchise tag.
Hey, continue to be mad at it. You've been putting out great content on my Twitter that's been very entertaining. I've appreciated it. Unless we get our offensive coordinator named in the next 48 hours, that's going to be the best thing as far as Jags Twitter over the weekend. So please keep it up. Hey, Coen, go ahead and ask to interview every single staff member on the Buccaneers offense so they have to block every one of them. That'll be great and work wonders for our fan base. That's going to do it for today.
Happy Royal Rumble weekend, everybody. Hey, one thing about the Royal Rumble. Paul Heyman's going to cost Roman Reigns his spot for CM Punk. Paul Heyman's going to turn on Roman Reigns, do CM Punk the favor, and CM Punk's going to win the Royal Rumble. Book it.
Is John Cena participating?
John Cena's in it, and I think Randy Orton's going to RKO him out of nowhere and cost him the spot in the Royal Rumble as well. And you could have a John Cena Randy Orton feud in the future. Book it as well.
Wow. Okay, I think I'm actually going to... I didn't know that it was this weekend. I think I'm going to have to make arrangements to watch.
Saturday, 6 o'clock, Hamby. Check your local listings.
Saturday? What happened to the pay-per-views being always on Sunday nights?
Hamby, we're going late night. We're going late night with the kids. We don't got school tomorrow. Put it on Saturday.
Well, there you go.
Also, but watch, the UNF JU game as well. Both.
Yes, watch both of them. Yeah, multi-screen that thing. And tonight... you can watch this, The Iceman, Friday, that's today, at 7 o'clock. My TV Jax, Action Sports Jax is putting this on. we got a big-time matchup against the Savannah Ghost Pirates, so you can go down there, catch the game at ViStar. If not, watch it on, you got all your local listings there. My TV Jacks, Iceman back in action tonight against the Savannah Ghost Pirates. That's going to do it. Another week in the books on the Brent and Austen Show. Hope everybody has a phenomenal weekend, and we'll see you next time.
It's one of the hot spots in the area.
Welcome you to String Sports Brewery out at the beach. Big crowd on hand tonight. The fans are here.
And now, the newest hot spot at the beach is open. String Sports Brewery in Jax Beach has opened its doors with rave reviews.
We're going to be fans forever.
Cozy up to the bar. Grab a seat in the sports-themed restaurant, or grab a seat outside and feel that breeze coming off the beach as the weather warms. Just like the original location in Springfield, try the popular beer menu and come for lunch or dinner too, because the food is fantastic. He's got some exciting news heading into 2025 as well. Christian Kirk. It's where we hosted Jags Report Live in the football season, and the String Sports Brewery staff can't wait to host you. Hey, welcome back here to String Sports Brewery. And if you haven't checked out the new location in Jax Beach, which many of you have, you got to do it. String Sports Brewery, now with 2 locations in Springfield and now open in Jax Beach on Penman Road.
2024 provided plenty of memorable moments for the Jacksonville Armada on the pitch, including another conference championship game appearance for Tommy Krasanovich's under-23 men's team.
They sit in the dying moments.
Debuting this year for the first time, the girls in blue, as the Armada fielded a women's under-23 side in the WPSL and made its presence known with some highlight moments.
Potential goal of the season.
Then attention turned to the future, with MLS Next teams representing the Armada badge in 3 age divisions this fall, including an under-19 squad ranking among the best in the state. Those teams are a big focus on Fleet and Footy, covering the big soccer stories each week on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network.
I'll put one in the back of the net for you.
Join us for player profiles, fun interviews, and the very latest on the Fleet